However, this time, she was even struggling with the knife. The tumbling pain in her stomach made her forehead sweat dripping, but she was still struggling with a sense of powerlessness. Small Potato behind the small wings moved. It tilted his head, looked at her, and then looked down at her big round belly. I don't know what it's looking at, but it looks up at the cloud, dance again, whine in a very low voice. It's like talking to Yunwoo. Unfortunately, Cloud Dance now, where mind attention, she's trying to bear the pain, mobilize the spirit of looking at the four old men gradually close. Ouch! See Cloud Dance ignore it. Small Potato, and tilted his head staring at her stomach looked at, and then looked up at Cloud Dance whine. Then, the little potato suddenly jumped up, lifted up the cloud, and disappeared with a whoosh. As soon as the four old men rushed under the tree, they saw that Yunwoo had disappeared by the little thing. However, all four people saw the shadow, and their hearts were shocked. They looked at each other almost at the same time. That little guy should not. Poor boy. How can that girl get it? That Cloud family kid. Is there anything else that hasn't explained to us clearly? For people, seem very clear that little thing is a what identity, facial expression, all some strange, but four people unexpectedly didn't chase. Because, if it's a poor kid, they can't catch up. Small Potato with Cloud Dance all the way. The speed of Cloud Dance can't help smacking. Only feel the surrounding scenery retreated. When she looked back, had left the original place, don't know how many miles away. Suddenly, Lil Potato stopped. Just when Yunwoo felt strange, he saw the surrounding scenery suddenly regress more quickly. Yunwoo felt that they were getting closer and closer to the dark border that bound here. Suddenly, I just felt comfortable in the border. Yunwoo and Tudo rushed out. In an instant, the dark sky and stars all over the sky appeared in front of the clouds. Yunwoo's eyes widened with excitement. He was knocked down on the ground by Yunwoo and the four old men. At night, he sat against the wall and looked at the sky in front of him. He frowned slightly and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face became pale again. Hard clenched his fist. Night clenched his teeth, gasped speechless. Small Potato and Cloud danced together. Just out of the border, Cloud Dance's stomach began to severe pain up, bursts of pain. Like Cloud Dance can't help but pain hum. The whole body has been like a bath by sweat. Yunwoo knows that her baby will be born soon, but now if the baby is born, the baby inside will die. Yunwoo endured the pain, almost left tears, biting her teeth, stroking her stomach. The pain made her dizzy. Yunwoo had no way to continue thinking. However, when her hand slowly stroked her stomach, Yunwoo suddenly found that the children in her stomach seemed to know that Yunwoo was their mother. Gradually, under the palm of Yunwoo's hand, she calmed down. But the abdominal pain continued, and the amniotic fluid was about to break. Yunwoo closed her eyes and wanted to instill some source of life into her dying baby. However, she found that the child could not absorb energy by himself except breathing. Heart sad, coupled with pain, and a long time of despair-depression. Yunwoo only feel the whole sky is gray. She lung looking at the sky, for a long time did not speak. Small Potatoes in the cloud around for a long time, dancing. It seems to be waiting for the next cloud command. But Yunwoo didn't give an order or speak, just sat quietly under a tree on the edge of the border, pale. Little Potato is very anxious, keep jumping, flying up, flapping his small wings. It is very anxious. Cloud Dance gave a wry smile, saying that what is still useful now. What she wants most now is to give birth to the two children as soon as possible. All of a sudden, the little potato around him flew up and bumped into Yunwoo's face. Cloud Dance and the heart feel strange, but see in front of the small potato suddenly lift themselves up, continue to go forward quickly. Yunwoo was puzzled. Looking at the nihilistic scenery in front of her, she was silent. But the little potato was harmless. Yunwoo had given her life to the little potato. But in the heart has been entangled with his belly child, the youngest child. Now, even the most basic absorption of energy has been unable to do. Immediately, he may be on the verge of the end of life. This makes Yunwoo feel extremely sad. Her own children, any one of them, she hopes to live well. Small Potato with Cloud Dance, constantly galloping on the road. the scenery around the rapid retrogression, cloud, dance, even have a sense of vertigo. She had to close her eyes. However, this speed actually lasted an afternoon. At this speed, Little Potato flew all afternoon, which made Yunwoo feel admiration. Finally, the small potato fast figure stopped in a vast white environment. Yunwoo looked down at the little potato's eyes, only to see a vast expanse of white. The sky and the ground are fog. Everything here can't see clearly whether it is the mountain forest or the grassland. Just feel two people in a fog. Little Potato will cloud dance on the ground, and then suddenly heave a breath, and then twisted his round body, suddenly toward the front, suddenly fly away. That way, it's like a round potato stuck in an arrow. It's so fast that people can't imagine. But just fly past, Cloud Dance did not respond. Small potatoes suddenly bounced back, like a ball of glutinous rice, pie, fell in front of Cloud Dance. The little potato shakes his head and flies with tears in his eyes. Then he makes full preparations and rushes in front of him. Cloud Dance sitting in the fog, but already feel small potatoes will bring themselves to a bright and energetic place. Close your eyes, and sure enough, you can see the bright baby in your belly. Suddenly, it starts to absorb energy slowly. Although it's only a little shallow, it makes Yunwoo very happy. Yunwoo quickly closed his eyes, separated a wisp of life, and slowly passed to the dying baby with bright constitution. However, another baby with dark constitution was a little bit reluctant and was tossing about in his stomach. Yunwoo tightly pursed her mouth, continued to close her eyes, separated the source of life, and gave it to the bright baby. The sound of potatoes pounding the border came from my ear. Yunwoo opens his eyes and finds that little potato is sitting beside him panting, looking very depressed. He couldn't help but feel very funny. Yunwoo reached out and pinched his two little wings, lifted him up, and put him on the palm of his hand. Thanks to you today, Potato. Yunwoo poked Little Potato in the face with her finger. But Little Potato seems very angry. Cloud danced some doubts. To see the border over there. The border is very strange, even if the little potato used up all his strength, but how also can't open. After a while, Little Potato came back to Yunwoo. His whole body was as dirty as a child. Cloud Dance looked up at the border, only felt that it was different from the border she had met before, but it was not clear what the difference was. What did you bring me here for? Yunwoo turns to Zayatudu in doubt, hoping that he can give him an answer. However, Zayatudu chirps a lot of words that she doesn't understand. Yunwoo still looks puzzled. Small potatoes fly up, in the belly of Cloud Dance fly a few circles, and then to the edge of the border fly a few circles. His mouth issued a few goo-goo sound. But Yunwoo was still puzzled. At this time, Yunwoo felt a pain in her abdomen, and then a warm liquid came out. The amniotic fluid is broken. Yunwoo's face turned pale, and the whole person curled up in pain, but he couldn't really curl up because of his big stomach. Small Potato also felt the sound, no longer dare to neglect, quickly fly up, no matter Cloud Dance can understand, directly toward the border hit. Bang dash before the huge border. Little Potato spoke a language he couldn't understand, and his little body bumped against the border again and again, as if he was tireless. Clearly is such a small body, before the border like a boat in the sea. But it happened that his every impact can cause a huge sensation. If it had been done before, Cloud Dance would have been able to find a difference here. I'm afraid it would have stopped it. But now, the amniotic fluid has been broken. She has long been in agony, not to mention the voice to stop. Even to see the surrounding environment are not strong. A pair of eyes closed tightly, feel the stomach of two children. One is strong and the other is weak. He tries hard to send the source of life to the bright child in his stomach, but he can't absorb it at all. Yunwoo has no way to think. She only knows tirelessly to send the source of life to that child. Two children, she does not want to give up. Bang, 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 sound constantly resounding in the world. Little Potato, goo goo, said a mess of language. Every hit must force on a sound. Finally, there was a wave on the border. Small Potato, a sound like finally see hope, so more efforts toward the border bumped up. The bright child in Yunwoo's stomach is dying, and the hot and humid liquid flows out along her legs. For the first time, there was despair in Yunwoo's eyes. Do you really want to give up your children? But this is my own child. It's a natural child of He Long Ching Xia. How can I just give up? The stronger child in his stomach suddenly moved. Yunwoo's brain, which was extremely painful and unable to think, suddenly flashed a trace of clarity in the sea, as if he had been reminded by the child. The dark child moved again, as if he felt that it was time to be born. With the continuous flow of amniotic fluid, he tried to come out. Cloud, Dan's pain brows are twisted together. Feel the dark child's action, heart more flustered, if this time to produce, only afraid of their own children really want to die. But if I don't make a decision quickly at this time, I'm afraid the 2 children will die in my stomach. The sound of bang, bang and bang is still ringing. Yunwoo feels that she is about to lose her perception of the surrounding things deep in the border, from the mountains, in the deepest white building. The man with eyes closed suddenly opened his eyes. Who is it? How dare you bump into our border? The voice of Zhongqi, full spread out. But the instant change swept the whole border and accurately spread to the ears of Little Potato and Cloud Dance outside the border. Just this sentence can tell the strength of this man. Small Potato, creak, quack, 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 said some messy words, like did not hear the voice in general. Not only did not stop their own action, but more forcefully hit up. Bang, bang, bang from time to time. He showed his fearlessness. His voice was so loud that he could hear it clearly in any corner of the whole border, like fighting with the people inside. That's ridiculous. The man who just spoke suddenly got angry, stood up directly from the futon he was sitting on, opened the door, and went out. Outside the door, the gatekeeper on both sides of the door lowered his head. What's going on out there? The doorman looked at a loss. Back to the Lord, has sent people to see, has not come back. With that, it seemed that it was not enough to say that. So he said, it seems that it came from the hot spring. Hot springs. The man, who was called the patriarch, frowned and suppressed the anger in his heart. With a serious face, he thought in a low voice and said, is it for the hot spring? It's hard for the 2 doormen to talk. From the time they were doormen, someone always came to the hot spring. But to tell you the truth, it's the first time in so many years that someone is so arrogant that they dare to break the border. Don't they know it's Yugoshin? It's a sacred place for a lot of people. They're not afraid of trouble if they are so aggressive. Forget it, I'll see. The patriarch immediately decided that not all the disciples in the hot spring could go in, and even many powerful disciples might not be allowed to go in once. It was still up to the patriarch. Moreover, he also wanted to see who actually dared to fight so openly. After making the decision, the patriarch immediately flew in the direction of the hot spring. The collision was so loud that he could know where it happened without carefully identifying the direction. Along the way, I met many Yugoshin's disciples, but now they are all curious looking at the direction of Jiejia. They are obviously very curious about this event. Beyond the boundary, with the impact of small potatoes one after another, finally, there is no movement of the boundary issued a crisp sound. How the little potato laughs with joy. With a hole, it's easy to do next. The aura in the border is full. It's just a hole, and it's constantly coming out. The little potato bumped a few times quickly again. It seemed that he felt that someone was coming here, so he worked harder. Soon, it was just the boundary of a hole, and instantly became able to let people through. Without hesitation, Little Potato flew directly to Yunwoo and took Yunwoo to get in. And just after a man and a beast passed through the hole, a figure appeared at the broken hole. What? The patriarch looked at the broken cave, and the abundant aura in the border was continuously drilling out along the cave. The patriarch's face sank, and now this situation suddenly became clear. Someone must have slipped in. The patriarch released his energy and blocked up the broken place of the border. The border of Yugoshin is not an ordinary one. It needs a special way combined with the array to improve it. Even if it's just a hole, it's not easy to make it up. Therefore, The energy of the patriarch at this time is just a temporary emergency. After finishing this task, the patriarch's face had already sunk down. At the moment, he made a tour around him, but he didn't find anything. It happened that he met a group of patrolling disciples coming towards him. The patriarch called at once. You immediately inform the elders to repair the border as soon as possible. In addition, we should strengthen our defense these days. As long as we see people waiting, we should catch them immediately. Those disciples don't know what happened, but they still heard the sound of the border pounding. Otherwise, they would not have come here. Now I heard the Lord's command again, and I guessed in my heart that someone must have broken in, so I nodded one by one, and then immediately turned to find the elder. After the order, the patriarch turned around and wanted to go to other places to have a look, but he just moved his foot and suddenly remembered something. Looking around at the hot spring, I hesitated. Not everyone could go to the hot spring. It's full of aura. Even the patriarch can't occupy it every day. But now that such a thing has happened, the visitor is likely to go to the hot spring. If he doesn't go to have a look thinking of this, the patriarch immediately made up his mind and turned to the hot spring. As soon as Zayatudu and Yunwu entered the border, he ran to the hot spring. It was not because he had been here, but because as a warcraft, he was naturally sensitive to the concentration of aura, so it was easy to distinguish where the energy was stronger. He just needed to fly to that place. But unexpectedly, just outside the border, I have been used to the painful cloud dance. As I get closer to the hot spring, I just feel that there's an extremely strong smell of light coming from all directions. As soon as this power was close to him, he got into his body and was absorbed directly by the bright child in his stomach. Cloud danced hard of joy, the child before, but even their own source of life are unable to absorb. At this time can absorb the power of light. All of a sudden, Yunwu wanted to go a little further. Small Potato with her 7 twists and turns, and finally stopped in a hot spring cave, so big hot spring with white smoke around. Carefully distinguish. Unexpectedly found that all the white smoke is the energy of light breath. If Cloud Dance can still think, it is bound to find how precious this hot spring is. It happens to be in an excellent position of feng shui in this cave, but also continue to absorb the smell of light nearby and finally dense together more and more. It can even be said that the whole Yugue mountain is just because of this hot spring, so it can reach the present situation. Little Tudo brings Yunwu over, and without saying a word, he directly throws her into the hot spring. In his opinion, Yunwu's body is too weak at this time, so it must be well mended, so this bright place is the best place. But Little Potato didn't expect that when Yunwu entered the hot spring, he uttered a scream. A dash Cloud Dance cried out in pain. But the pain is not because of themselves, but because the dark child in the stomach even desperately want to come out. Little Potato was surprised and rushed to Yunwu, only to find that her breath had not changed. So Chirp said some words and then fly up to the entrance of the hot spring cave, a flash of light on the body, and finally formed a transparent border on the entrance of the cave. After all this, Little Potato flew back to Yunwu's side. A bright light on his body flickered, flew from his forehead to Yunwu's forehead, and finally disappeared directly into Yunwu's skin. With this action, the body of Cloud Dance seems to become transparent. Little Potato then said some words like a mantra, which is to finish all the things. His little body flew to the side of Cloud Dance, and he was comfortable in the hot spring. But Cloud Dance is very painful. Stomach as if there are countless sharp blades split in the above general, followed by the stomach of the dark child desperately struggle. Clearly is a child who has not yet been born, but Yunwu seems to hear his cry, so heartbroken, want to escape from this place. And different from the dark child, the bright child is trying to absorb the breath of light. Cloud Dance, suffering from pain, desperately opens her eyes. Little Potato is also soaking in the hot spring, looking at her curiously. Yunwu suddenly realized that Little Potato only felt that the bright child in his stomach was about to die. Because he was in urgent need of bright energy, he brought himself here. But he forgot that he had 2 children in his stomach. She was the one who wanted to keep the light. That's right, but it didn't mean she was willing to give up her other child. The 2 children in her stomach, one bright and the other dark, no matter which one is, are her own flesh and blood. Even if there is only a glimmer of hope, she is not willing to give up any of them. Thank you. Cloud Dance looked at Little Potato. Pale, weak voice said, but please take me out. I can't in this hot spring. Goo goo. Quack, quack, quack. Little Potato said a lot of words, as if he didn't understand. At this time, another child in Yunwoo's stomach still needs strength. How can he not stay in this pool? The child in his stomach is struggling more and more fiercely. Yunwoo cries out again. He knows that if he doesn't try to leave the pool, he will die directly. Just the bright atmosphere in the cave is much stronger than the dark atmosphere in the border on the first night. Not to mention the pool. Yunwoo knows that no matter what she says, Little Potato doesn't understand. She doesn't waste any more time. She drags her tired body and turns around directly, trying to climb towards the bank. Goo goo. Gee. The small potato flies out of the pool and comes to Yunwoo's side. He says to Yunwoo in a hurry. Although I can't understand him, Yunwoo can feel the worry and anxiety of Little Potato. Unfortunately, Yunwoo didn't even have the strength to smile at him. All his thoughts were on the 2 children in his stomach, while he was able to climb out as soon as possible. Gigi. Little Potato is still trying to say something, flying around Yunwoo's side, but Yunwoo has no mind to deal with her. Finally, the cloud danced to the shore, hands on the side, but how can not make the strength? No, we have to go up. The cloud dances in the heart to shout. The hands suddenly one dent. The upper half body finally left the water. Yunwoo tries to climb up. As her stomach leaves the water, the dark child's action in her stomach finally becomes smaller. Yunwoo breathes a sigh of relief, and her upper body just leaves the water, falls down again. A dash. The child in his stomach became fierce again, and the pain of being pierced by tens of thousands of sharp blades came back again. With a cry of pain, Yunwoo grabbed the edge with both hands. Small Potato, worried, and finally see the intention of Cloud Dance, quickly came forward with a Cloud Dance, efforts to Cloud Dance out of the hot spring, but do not understand what to do next. Yunwoo touches the shore with her feet, and the Little Potato suddenly understands it and puts Yunwoo on the ground. Finally arrived at the shore of the Cloud Dance, but did not completely relax. This cave area is very large. It is a cave, but because of the hot spring, energy is sufficient, grow a lot of strange flowers and plants, look vibrant. The closer the place is to the hot spring, the stronger the breath of light, the more obvious the vitality, and the more painful the dark child is. And bright children like it better, but if you stay near the hot spring, you can't give birth to the 2 children safely. But it's even more impossible to leave this cave. Once you leave, the bright child will not be able to continue to absorb energy. At that time, you can only keep one. Yunwoo tried his best to look at the surrounding situation and finally chose the place with relatively thin energy in the cave to separate and climb over. In the belly child, the tribute is opposite. Moreover, the dark child seems to be unable to wait, can come out at any time, generally. Yunwoo knew that she was going to face a very difficult problem. That is, she had to deliver her own baby and keep her 2 children. Even though she knows how difficult it is to do this, Yunwoo never gives up. There is only one idea in her heart, which is to climb over and give birth to the 2 children safely. Yunwoo tries to endure the pain in her stomach and crawls towards her goal little by little. The child in her stomach is still beating and kicking. Every move brings strong pain. Warm liquid flows out along the thigh. Yunwoo has no energy to distinguish whether it is broken amniotic fluid or blood. The legs have already lost consciousness of pain. All the action can only rely on the hands of Cloud, dancing, constantly rubbing on the ground. Just like a man with broken legs, the place where he crawled was dragged out a long trace. White and red liquid mixed together. Gigi goo goo. Little Potato anxiously flies around Yunwoo, not sure what Yunwoo is going to do. Mingming has pulled her out of the hot spring. Why do you climb toward the distance? Clearly, He feels that Yunwoo's body is constantly absorbing energy. Little Potato was worried in his heart, and his action became flying around. Finally, he decided that no matter what Yunwoo wanted to do, he could not just watch her climb on the ground like this. So he hurried forward and wanted to pull Yunwoo up. A dash, Cloud Dance screamed, frowned tightly together, and the child in his stomach suddenly kicked to a very painful place, which made Cloud Dance unable to breathe. In the past, no matter how many injuries I suffered, I didn't feel so tortured. I just felt as if I was in hell now. Little Potato, you stay away from me. Yunwoo gasped and said, "You can't help me now. If I'm flying with you, will hurt the child. Let me go by myself." Just as he was about to start, Little Potato stopped immediately. Although he couldn't speak, he could understand it. At this time, when he heard the words of Cloud Dance, a burst of tears appeared in his eyes. He looked very pitiful. "You get out of the way first." Cloud Dance strong support added a. Small Potato hurriedly let to one side. Cloud Dance stopped for a while, but it was only for a while. It seemed that the child in his stomach had stopped a little, so Cloud Dance continued to climb forward. Small Potatoes also quiet down, fell to the side of Cloud Dance with a pair of short legs to follow Cloud Dance slowly forward. Yunwoo moved a little. He also moved a little, in this way a man and a beast closer to the front. Zixixabi reverberates in the cave outside the cave. The master of Yuguishin stood in front of the cave, his black eyes shining with the light of thinking. "How come there's no breath here?" The patriarch murmured doubts, reached out and touched his chin, then went around the cave again, but never found the previous breath. "It's strange." The patriarch frowned and said, looking into the cave again, he saw that the cave was dark and could see nothing from the outside. The patriarch stepped back to the cave, saluted the middle of the cave, and said, "Although it violates the rules of returning jade to the mountain, it's urgent. It's an exception. I hope that all the masters of returning jade to the mountain will not blame it." With that, the Lord stepped into the cave. Little Potato shivered all over, instantly found someone coming, quickly ran to Yunwoo, and said a lot to him. Cloud Dance, as if can't hear General, still continued to climb forward. Small Potato had to fly back, and in the back of the hot spring added a border. When the patriarch entered the cave, it was still a dark cave from the outside. In an instant, it became a wonderland full of flowers and plants, and a hot spring was constantly emitting smoke. After the hot spring, there was no one. Why not? The patriarch suddenly exclaimed and walked forward several steps. The line of sight sweeps over the location of Yunwoo several times, but nothing could be seen. Even the sound of knowing rate between the crawling of Yunwoo can't be heard. Small Potato quietly back a few steps, vigilant looking at the Lord. The patriarch walked around in the cave, looking at almost every place, but he didn't find any strange places. Finally, he had to give up. Before he left, he took another look at the brick. It seems that he escaped to another place. The Lord frowned and turned to leave. I don't know how long it took. Yunwoo finally climbed to the place he liked before, and the dark child in his stomach finally stopped crying. Yunwoo felt relieved. But before waiting for her more relaxed moment, just relaxed stomach is a burst of pain. The dark child no longer pain, but more strongly want to come out. "Well," Cloud Dance snorted, just gripping his teeth and grasping the grass under him. Small Potatoes see Cloud Dance pain again, subconsciously want to help Cloud Dance, but his strength, just savings, was stopped by Cloud Dance. "Don't, Little Potato, you can't help." Cloud Dance complexion pale of say, the stomach is still a burst of pain, but she knows she must stop Small Potato. Little Potato doesn't know anything about childbirth, or even how to help Yunwoo. In his opinion, it's no different from injury. He's afraid that he just wants to save energy to help Yunwoo heal, but now Yunwoo doesn't need healing. "Little Potato, listen, you're now far away from me. Try not to let those bright breath too close to me. Until the first child after coming out, you will take me to go to the pool." Yunwoo finished his sentence intermittently, and then came a sharp pain. Finally, Yunwoo could not help but scream again. "Gigi goo goo." Small Potato said a lot of messy words, hurriedly listened to the words of Cloud Dance, went to one side to stay, but from time to time turned to look at Two Eyes, always pay attention to the movement of Cloud Dance, for fear that she had a problem. Yunwoo has no mind to manage all this. She only knows that she has a bad stomachache. She can clearly feel that a child is trying to get out of the room, but she doesn't have enough strength. Uterine contraction and bursts like to squeeze out the child in general. Each contraction brings severe pain. Such a small channel has to let such a big child come out. Yunwoo is in a terrible pain. At this time, she misses the doctor incomparably. If only a doctor who can operate at this time would come directly to take out the child for her. But everything is empty talk. The child is still struggling to climb out. Cloud Dance a few times, then no strength. Uterine contraction temporarily stopped. The dark child has not come out, eager to cry inside. Yunwoo was worried and knew that if it went on like this, he was afraid that the dark child would suffocate in it. I must give birth to the child. Yunwoo burst out in an instant. A low roar came out of his voice. He stifled his breath and forced his lower body again. The contraction of the uterus immediately recovered. Even because of Yunwoo's efforts, it was even more severe than before. The dark child first came out, then little body bit by bit came out, until all came out. Yunwoo had no strength. It's just giving birth to a child. It's even more tiring than fighting for a long time. As soon as the dark child was born, he didn't cry. Instead, he looked around curiously and giggled. His little body was still pulling a long umbilical cord. Small potato eyes to see these quickly flew forward around the child, curious to fly 2 circles, and then click, a bite of the child's umbilical cord. Then, no matter what happened to the child, little potato quickly took Yunwoo and carefully put her in the hot spring. Yunwoo felt that her almost broken body was immediately wrapped up in warmth, while another child in her stomach showed no sign of being born. After entering the hot spring, she began to absorb the light. Do you have to have 2 children twice? This is Yunwoo's last thought before he fell asleep. And then he fell asleep completely. The little potato had been exhausted for a long time, but he was still forced to fly. Seeing that the newborn child was okay, a bright light flew out of his forehead and entered his forehead, adding a layer of boundary to the cave. Then he fell asleep on the edge of the hot spring. Fairyland. Gurgling water, birds singing, wind singing, fairy gas transpiration from the mountains, until the air dissipated. Dragon Qingxia lies in an array, pale and thin, with black hair scattered around, dancing with the pure energy around. There are white walls and white curtains flying around the bed. Around Long Qingxia, there are 5 people with black hair and white clothes sitting on their knees. The energy is sent out from their palms, and the clothes are windless. Circles of radiant energy slowly disappear in front of Long Qingxia. They are forcibly cleaning the memory of the dragon. The pure energy flows into the body slowly, but it is resisted instinctively by the dragon. 5 people around suddenly open their eyes. I didn't expect that his willpower was so strong. After so long, he still had consciousness. A man in white frowned at the dragon with closed eyes. No harm. A man in the middle, who seems to be highly respected, said, "No matter how strong our consciousness is, it's only temporary. We just need to do what we should do. He will lose one day." The others nodded, closed their eyes again, gurgled energy, and bathed the whole room in warmth. With the loss of time, Long Qingxia finally felt that something in his mind was slowly disappearing. I seem to be forgetting something. Long Qingxia thought in his heart. Suddenly, he was in a trance. Here we go again. Then the dragon fell into a deep sleep. There's no last word. The 5 people around finally let out their breath. They looked very serious and didn't leave. A man sighed. Today is over. Eliminating the memory of dragons, evil spirits consumed too much of their energy, and several of them were all tired, pale, and decadent. All of a sudden, the dragon in front of him trembled violently. Although he had already eliminated his memory, he suddenly seemed to remember something. His mouth moved, and the word child came out faintly. Children, little guy, my child. Long Qingxie repeated mechanically, and his eyes were full of pain. Dragon Qingxie trembled violently, like a volcano about to erupt, and his black energy overflowed, slowly surrounded him. Several people were surprised and couldn't move their eyes. But for a moment, the dragon suddenly stopped again and fell to the ground without any sound. In the white room, there was silence, and no one spoke. What's going on? 5 people looked at each other. Lying in the middle of the house, Dragon Qingxie exudes light energy. For a long time, it slowly disappears. I think we have to consult the elder about this kind of thing. In the hot spring, the steam is steaming, the smoke is curling, the steaming clouds are dancing, and the face is red. Yunwu is lying in the warm water, bursts of heat rising. She can't help but close her eyes, bursts of collapse, suddenly feel unprecedented fatigue. After giving birth to a child, she felt that her body had been almost torn. At this time, her whole body felt weak and painful. She couldn't help her heavy eyes. After a while, she tilted her head and fell asleep. After a while, Yunwu opened her eyes and looked up to see her child. But the whole hot spring did not hear any children crying. In the heart is still strange, his child has been born, but why did not come crying? Sit up in a hurry. At this time, Yunwu suddenly saw that a chubby child was crawling on the ground not far in front of him. His little hand was patting on the ground, and he was still climbing unsteadily. Suddenly, he saw something on the ground, bit his finger, and sat down. What? The baby poked left and right and suddenly giggled. The baby is very lovely. The little potato is lying on the side of his head, sleeping sweetly. He also shakes his wings and smacks his mouth from time to time. Yunwu looks at the baby in front of him, and suddenly he can't help laughing. He feels soft in his heart. The baby is very obedient, and suddenly feels that all the pain he has suffered has been resolved in the moment he sees his child. Yunwu's laughter disturbed the little baby's game. Her hand suddenly stopped, and she turned her head. She had been focusing on something on the ground. At this time, her big round eyes were looking at Yunwu without blinking. She tilted her head and seemed to be thinking about something. Yunwu saw the little stone in the baby girl's hand and sighed. Come here, child. The baby may not understand. She suddenly tilted her head, a face-puzzled look at the cloud. Yunwu was a little stunned. The child didn't look like a newborn baby. It might have been several months old. What is the feeling of a newborn child, not only from the body shape, but also from the intelligence? Cloud danced side again, helpless smile. Own child, how could be very happy? The baby's mouth spit out of vague words, sounds very immature, sitting on the edge of the hot spring opposite the cloud dance, watching the cloud dance for a long time, biting his fingers, thinking for a while, suddenly sitting on the ground, open his hands. Big, young voice line, only open mouth, closed voice, but cute appearance, already let Cloud dance want to hold her in the arms. She must have recognized me as her mother. With tears in his eyes and joy in his heart, he quickly reached out and wanted to hold the child over. Little Potato suddenly shakes his body, like a dream, suddenly soars into the sky, then bangs, bumps into the stone above, and then plops into the hot spring. The little wings trembled. Then they opened their big, watery eyes. They looked confused and stretched their body. Looking at Yunwu's smile, they suddenly turned into a ray of light and flew to the baby. Then, the baby was brought to Yunwu's arms by the little potato. Soaking in the warm spring, the warm air smoked Yunwu's cheeks red. Yunwu lowered his head, looking at the soft little body laughing in his arms. Child, my child. Yunwu's pale face showed a satisfied smile. The baby's small hand gently grasps her arm, raises her head, a pair of watery eyes blink, then smiles at Yunwu, hugs Yunwu's neck, and gnaws on Yunwu's mouth. Yunwu, who was gnawed with saliva, reluctantly grabbed the baby and held it in his arms. He watched the baby eat his hands in his arms and looked around curiously. The tender skin seemed to be broken by blowing. Yunwu could not help poking the baby's face. It was like a boiled egg, full of elasticity. Lowering his head, Yunwu approached the baby, smiling lovingly, touching the baby's nose with the tip of his nose. The baby blinked, and the long eyelashes swept Yunwoo's face, itching. Yunwoo held back her smile and gently kissed the baby's face. It was cute, soft, and lovely. The baby looks like a dragon with evil spirits. It's beautiful and charming. I was just born, so charming. If I grow up, I will definitely be more beautiful than your father. Cloud danced heart joy, but also think of the dragon pour evil up, no matter what time to accompany in his side of the man. Clearly children are born, he is not around. Yunwoo's heart suddenly shook his head and forced him to press down these pessimistic thoughts. Son, I will find your father. Cloud Dance's pursed lips firmly said. The baby's voice came again. A pair of small hands kept patting the water surface of the hot spring. They played happily. From time to time, they made a sound of pa and pa. The water droplets splashed on the body of Yunwoo and the child's face, causing a burst of giggle laughter. Yunwoo suddenly remembered that this child is dark, but now he is in such a bright and warm place. Will it hurt him? With this in mind, Yunwoo observed the child carefully and found that although the child did not absorb the surrounding energy, it was not affected at all. Just like an insulator, Yunwoo let the child play in the water. Finally, the child, tired of playing, lying on the body of Cloud Dance, quietly fell asleep. Soaking in the hot spring, the rolling bright energy, along with the hot spring fog, layer by layer, Cloud Dance also, because of soaking in the hot spring, although still thin, but the face has become ruddy. Open your eyes and look at the top of your head. You can see the stone wall wrapped by fog. He breathed, closed his eyes, and fell asleep. Sitting on one side of the small potato, turned to see Yunwoo. Big eyes round blink, jump to Yunwoo's hair, shrink into a ball, also close their eyes. The baby babbled and put on her fingers, showing a sweet smile. Fairyland. Elder. Long Qingxia is so strange. No matter how hard we try, there is no way to make him unconscious. 5 men in white, with haggard faces, knelt down in front of the elder and sighed. Those who stood by the temple gathered around and whispered. They were all curious about this strange foreigner. Lying in the array, Long Qingxia tightly closed his eyes and tried to open them. He could feel the light outside his eyes and the rolling energy from around him. The energy in this place was so abundant that it didn't belong to the human world. Why don't we just force him to improve his kung fu and erase his memory today? Suddenly someone said. There was a thump in the dragon's heart. It will hurt him a lot, but we have to do the same. Another sighed. Then 5 people sit down one after another and form a circle to surround the dragon in the middle. Turning to look out of the window, a man in white frowned, pondered for a moment, and then said, It's not time yet. Long Qingxia is anxious in his heart. They want to erase my memory by force. The anger went straight to the top of the head and suddenly turned into black energy, which suddenly gushed out of the body. My God, this man is terrible. We're not waiting. Let's move quickly. This guy always feels like something's going to happen. A person murmured. A few people also nodded seriously, closed their eyes, stretched out their hands. After a while, the energy from the 5 people began to slowly inject into the dragon's evil body. The sun, as they closed their eyes, gradually moved to the top of the mountain. The light of the sun became dim in the blink of an eye. The whole valley was suddenly full of energy. Today is the most full-bodied time of the month, and today's noon is the most full-bodied time of the day. The dark energy sweeping all over the sky, because it is too abundant, forms thick black clouds in the sky. Finally, it can't bear it. The energy actually condenses into drops and falls in the mountains. It seems to be willing to absorb the dark energy. In an instant, the trees and plants in the whole valley are all new, just like when spring is just growing. They're all in full bloom. In the valley, amazing beauty. In this vast and majestic building, an energy, rain dominated by dark energy, is pouring down. No one can help walking out of the house, sitting on the wide square, quietly practicing. 5 people in the room can't help but smile at the corners of their mouths. The energy fog permeates in from the window, and the whole house is foggy with dense energy fog. In 5 people's bodies, the energy is suddenly strengthened, and the white clothes are flying fiercely. Around the dragon is angry. How can these people's energy suddenly become so strong? However, the dark energy, also from the air, slowly into the dragon's body. Dragon feels his body is gradually strong. Several people suddenly increased their energy. Before long, Qingxia had time to prepare. He felt that the energy entering the body increased sharply, and suddenly he had a headache. Well, he frowned painfully and could not help humming. Several people were very happy when they heard that and continued to transmit energy. With the blessing of 5 people's energy, Long Qingxia's body slowly breaks away from the ground. In midair, Long Qingxia's head is powerless and his limbs are slightly drooping, while his clothes and hair are dancing in the energy. 5 people's clothes are also windless, hair fluttering around. They frown, concentrate, instill energy. The secret way in Long Qingxia's heart was in trouble. Just as he wanted to resist, he suddenly thought that every time he resisted, they would redouble their efforts. In this case, why ask for trouble? So they suppress their anger, hide their breath, and collect their energy into their bodies. The first time I saw that Long Qingxia didn't resist in his consciousness, the 5 people were very happy. When they opened their eyes, they all saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Looking down at Long Qingxia, he was lying on the ground, motionless but breathing steadily. So here did it work. One of them stepped forward carefully and touched the dragon's evil face. Suddenly, Long Qingxia frowned and reached for the man's hand. Ah! The man was so scared that he almost shook off the hand of dragon's evil spirit. His voice trembled. He quickly hid behind a man and looked at dragon's evil spirit carefully. At this time, he seemed to cry, "This man is so strange. Is he awake?" The 5 men's faces suddenly became serious. They all picked up their weapons and aimed at the dragon in the center. Finally, Long Qingxia felt the scenery inside him, suddenly torn from his eyes, from black to white. Well, a flash of light suddenly flashed and suddenly stabbed the dragon. He could not help but close his eyes, frowned, and put his hand on his eyes. Finally, his voice was as hoarse as a saw. "Where is this?" The most timid of the 5 people was stunned, and they didn't slow down. The other people were so shocked that they couldn't help themselves. What's the matter with you?" Dragon Qing evil see a few people don't speak, can't help but sigh, didn't wait for a few people to reply, support the body hard to sit up whirl. One of them, a man in white, went to Long Qingxia, poked him carefully, and said boldly, "Are you okay?" The dragon pours evil. Long Qingxia was slightly stunned. Then he looked down at his hand in surprise. Then he looked up at the person in front of him in surprise. "What did you just call me?" Several people smell speech, immediately overjoyed, busy forward, squat in front of Dragon Qing evil. "You amnesia?" Long Qingxia looked at several people with a confused face and didn't know why. Those people were very happy to see this, but they didn't see the smile of evil spirit in Long Qingxia's eyes. Today, little potatoes and babies are still killing time in all kinds of boredom, one in the pool and the other in mid-air. Big. The baby picked up a small stone from the ground, sat on the ground, and threw it at the small potatoes in the sky, opening his mouth and laughing happily. Little Potato's eyes are full of anger. His round body and bulging cheeks make him more round. His small wings flicker and dodge the stones. When the baby saw this, she frowned and seemed very angry. She raised her head and yelled at the little potato flying in the sky. She frowned and pursed her mouth. She was about to shed tears. Small Potatoes see this, instantly droop his small wings, turn to see the clouds, hang down his head, and then a rock slammed into the small potatoes. Small potatoes plop into the water, causing the baby to giggle. Yunwu looked at them with her gills, laughing helplessly and spoiling them. Why? The baby seemed to see something funny. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he crawled towards a corner. Yunwu sighs with a smile, but he doesn't stop it. However, Little Potato is not at ease. He quickly follows up with his eyes wide open and looks at the baby anxiously. Yes, there's going to leave the border to protect this hot spring. Little Potato looked at the baby, frowned together, turned, and looked at Yunwoo, but saw that Yunwoo had fallen asleep on the edge of the hot spring. Eye full of worry, his small potatoes gather energy to reinforce a layer of seal, but see the baby has climbed out, disappeared in front of him. Little Potato was startled and quickly disappeared on the border. Jade returns to the mountain. In the deepest building, the patriarch is sitting on the futon with his eyes closed to practice. The rich atmosphere of light around him provides a lot of convenience for the practice. After a long time, the patriarch opened his eyes, and his deep eyes were full of dignity. The light, why do you feel weaker and weaker? The Lord held out his hand and grasped something in the air. The breath of light twined around his fingertips. The Lord slowly gathered the breath of light around him and then released it. How could it be so weak? Finished just now all, the patriarch said in surprise. Originally thought he felt wrong, but this trial found that the change is far more serious than his guess. Newspaper dash outside the door. There came the voice of the disciples of Yugushan. The patriarch took back his hand, changed his solemn face, and said harshly, "Come in." Crunch. A disciple of Yugushan in a jade dress opened the door, went straight to the Lord, bowed down, saluted, and said respectfully, "Tell the Lord, all the damaged parts of the border have been repaired completely. The elders have checked the whole border again, and no other loopholes have been found." The Lord got the news. His face softened a little, nodded, and said, "I know, you go down." Yes, the disciple in jade clothes answered and turned to leave. The voice of the patriarch came from behind the clinker. "Wait a minute." The patriarch suddenly thought of something and quickly stopped the people. "What do you want from the Lord?" The disciple quickly turned around and asked the patriarch, "These days I want you to step up your patrols. Have you ever found anyone suspicious?" The patriarch asked. Somehow, he thought of what he saw when he went to the hot spring cave. He thought it was strange, but he couldn't tell what it was. Back to the Lord, no suspicious person was found. The disciple thought for a while and then replied, "Did strangers ever come in and out?" "Not yet. Not even from other schools?" No, the disciple's reply was a pause. The elder ordered that Yugushin had housework to deal with during this period of time, so there were no guests, so no outsiders came. The patriarch frowned and waved to let the disciple leave, but he fell into deep doubt. No suspicious people were found, and no outsiders came in and out of the clan. Is it just an accident that someone broke the border? Or is the man still hiding somewhere in the mountain gate, yet to be found? But if so, who can hide in Yugue Mountain for such a long time? After thinking for a long time, the patriarch could not get an answer. Finally, he had to sigh and force himself to continue to practice. He felt the bright atmosphere around him. The patriarch prayed in his heart that he could get an answer from the bright atmosphere. The border of Yugue Mountain has a strong defensive power and can even be used as an attack when someone controls it. It is said that it was built by combining ancient array, and the hot spring in the hot spring cave provides energy for the border. The patriarch sat on the futon alone for a long time, but he couldn't find the direction of the bright breath. When he was upset, he didn't continue to practice anymore. He pushed the door to see what happened after the border was repaired. Good Lord! Good Lord! Along the way, countless Yugushin's disciples said hello to the patriarch, but he just walked forward without words, at most nodded. It seems to see that the master is in a bad mood. The disciples of Yugushan consciously do not disturb him. After they politely ask good questions, they hide away and do their own things. The patriarch came to the place where he found the loophole in the border before he finally stopped. He happened to meet the elder, a white-haired old man who was standing here. The power of the border is getting weaker and weaker. The elder turned his back to the patriarch, stroked his beard, and said to the patriarch, his eyes full of inquiry. The patriarch was stunned. Is the power of the border weak? Is it affected by the weakening of the light in the air? Thinking of this, the Lord stepped forward and put his hand on the border. When the fingertip touched the border, The master's pupil shrank and his eyes were full of disbelief. This is the origin of the border. There is something wrong with it. The root strength of the boundary comes from the hot spring. If there's a problem in the origin, it is the hot spring that has a problem. The elder's eyes were always on the border. Even after hearing the words of the patriarch, he was still expressionless, as if he had known for a long time and could not see his surprise. The patriarch's brows were tightly twisted together, and the picture of searching the cave that day came back to his mind. No, I have to see it again. Having said that, the patriarch immediately turned around and went straight to the hot spring cave. In the hot spring cave, Little Potato and Little Fat Girl don't know where to play for a long time. Yunwoo is still pregnant with a child, and now it's about the production period. It's rare to have such a good place, so Yunwoo wants to stay more days. Today, even if only Yunwoo is alone, she is still in the hot spring with her clothes. She is enjoying the spring water leisurely, with her abdomen bulging, and looks very comfortable. Compared with the day of birth, now she has a ruddy complexion, much better spirit and body. Well, is someone coming again? Cloud Dance felt a strange breath is constantly close. Immediately opened, his eyes have been closed. These days, there are always patrol people close to this side for time, but no one steps into the cave. The border set by Little Potato always exists, so Yunwoo doesn't feel particularly worried, but it will keep some vigilance. But it seems that the patrol is not coming today, because there's only one person's footstep. Cloud Dance narrowed her eyes. Her bulging abdomen made her unwilling to move. She looked up at the border set by Little Potato and the border left by her body to hide her breath and body shape. Cloud Dance relaxed herself. You won't be found out. Little Potato is still very powerful. With this in mind, Yunwoo was relieved to stay in the hot spring. The footstep is getting closer and closer, and finally stops at the entrance of the cave. Cloud Dance's heart clattered for a while, and a bad premonition surged into my heart. Just when Yunwoo thought that it was better to find a place to hide first, the footsteps would ring again. This time, the other party stepped into the cave without hesitation. The hot spring cave is still the same as what the Lord saw when he came to the cave last time. It is full of vitality, full of bright atmosphere. Wisps of white smoke rise from the hot spring, and the bright atmosphere of the outside world becomes thin, but it seems to be more intense here. The cloud dances in the hot spring and looks at the visitors across the 2 layers of boundary. At this time, she did not dare to act rashly. She didn't know why. She always felt that there was a dangerous smell on the visitors. How come the energy here has become rich? Has the hot spring changed? The line of sight of the Lord swept through the cave and finally stayed in the hot spring. It seems that he hesitated for a moment, but he still raised his foot and went straight to the hot spring, squatting down at the edge. The distance between Yunwoo and the Lord is only 1 zhang away, so you can clearly see every tiny expression on the Lord's face. Yunwoo held his breath and didn't know anything. Mingming knew that there was a barrier in his heart. He couldn't see and feel himself, but he was nervous, as if he would be found if he moved more. Hot springs have absorbed all the light in a mountain gate. The patriarch frowned tightly and then put out a hand into the hot spring. The warm spring water wrapped his fingertips, and countless bright breath penetrated into the Lord's body along the fingertips. Just don't know how. In the past, all toward the fingertips of the breath, but now only a small part of the drill over. More is to stay in the distance. The eyes of the patriarch suddenly raised, and a pair of deep eyes suddenly looked at the position of Cloud Dance. Who are you? How dare you invade the holy spring of Yugushin without permission? The patriarch's cold eyes fixed on the location of Yunwoo and said coldly, as if he could see the existence of Yunwoo. The bright breath of the whole body was directly mobilized, just like the night before the storm, silent but extremely depressed. Yunwoo's heart jumps violently, and he wants to stand up and leave. Yuguang touches the border left by Little Potato and makes himself calm down. As if he didn't hear the words of the Lord, he still sits in the hot spring, but he has made a defensive appearance. Once the Lord changes again, she can leave the hot spring at the first time. Oh, the patriarch sneered, as if mocking the cloud dance, and said, "Do you think it's safe to have the border?" The eyes of the patriarch radiate the light of Morihan, and the hands put into the hot spring slowly come out. Yes, he can't see or even feel the cloud dance. But when he put his hand into the hot spring and felt the bright breath of the hot spring, he already understood that there was a more special existence in the hot spring, so that more parts of the bright breath of the hot spring didn't come to him, and he was inferring the location of cloud dance from this point. "Since you don't want to show up, don't blame me," the master said, his hands slowly raised, and the bright atmosphere in the whole cave was ready to move at the moment when he began to exercise. Cloud dance, eyebrow, a jump, and the heart-bad premonition is very strong. At this moment, she has completely understood. In front of this person is not joking. At the moment, the palm of the hand turned, the ancient martial arts sword appeared in the hand instantly, and the pregnant belly was high and high. When the patriarch's pressure came towards Yunwu, there was something abnormal in his belly. The master's hands were held high, and the bright atmosphere in the whole cave condensed with his actions into one invisible existence like water drops floating in the air. The master's hands clapped together. At that moment, countless water drops burst in the air. Yunwu was caught off guard and rushed to pack himself with fighting spirit. The purple fighting spirit formed a protective layer, but he was vulnerable to such a powerful force of the Yugoshan patriarch. The sound of crackling is constantly ringing in the air, clearly invisible to the naked eye, but Yunwu can clearly feel the powerful energy. The defense formed by purple fighting spirit, together with the border bang set by Little Potato, was broken. At this moment, Yunwu's figure was completely exposed in the eyes of the patriarch. In the distance, Little Potato, who is playing with Little Fat Girl, suddenly feels something. He flies over and catches Little Fat Girl, who is still rolling on the ground. Without saying a word, he rushes to the hot spring cave. "Who are you? Why do you want to enter the forbidden area of Yugoshan? How did you get in?" The patriarch's eyes narrowed slightly, looking at the figure in the hot spring. Yunwu in the hot spring was wearing a white dress. Because she had been in the hot spring for a long time, she was full of light. Her body seemed to radiate light, and her abdomen was high. If she didn't have an ancient sword in her hand, it would make people wonder if she had been thrown in. The patriarch squinted and looked carefully, trying to feel the strength of cloud dance, but it didn't matter. The final result made him angry instantly. "You are a mortal woman." The patriarch's not-so-good-looking look became more gloomy. "Mortal?" Cloud Dance frowned and did not answer, but thought in his heart, "Is the mortal world in his mouth human? If you're talking about the human world, are you in the fairyland now? That's ridiculous." The patriarch saw that she didn't answer for a long time, and the look in her eyes was even colder. "How can I be touched by you, a mortal woman, in the holy spring, the forbidden area of my beautiful mountain? If I don't kill you, how can I meet all the masters in Yugoshan?" Having said that, the Lord's right hand turned, and a silver sword appeared in his hand. The sword was wrapped with a strong smell of light, which looked like a holy sword. However, the Lord Mingming just took it out and did not deliberately lead the smell of light to it. However, Yunwu didn't have time to look at all this. As soon as the patriarch finished his sentence, he put his left hand on the edge of the hot spring and left the hot spring. She just had a big stomach and was inconvenient to move. She was going to stay far away or escape, but the patriarch just stood in the direction of the cave. Because she was pregnant, she didn't have the sensitivity of the past, so she just stood on the side. At this time, the Lord's attack had arrived. With a sound of shoo, the long sword on the Lord's hand flew straight to the cloud-dancing face. The wind of the sword was like a sword, and it was as strong as a bamboo. Yunwu knows that he is not the opponent of the patriarch. This attack seems casual, but if he really wants to resist, he may not have it at all. At the moment, Yunwu quickly flashed to one side, but the speed of the sword was so fast that it flew over her shoulder with a schwa. The sharp blade cut a hole in Yunwu's body in an instant, and the blood flowed out. "Well, Cloud Dance hums. Compared with before, her resistance to pain is much lower. I don't know if it's an illusion. She feels faint pain coming from her abdomen, as if she is about to give birth. Don't be born at this time. Cloud Dance in the heart of helpless think. It's no wonder that you, a mortal woman, dare to come to this fairy jade mountain. You really have two talents, and you can avoid my attack. With a wave of his hand, the flying sword came back to his side, suspended in the air, as if it might fly out again at any time. Jade back to the mountain? Cloud Dance repeated in a low voice. The pain in the abdomen is more obvious. Sorry, I don't know where it is. At the beginning, it was only by chance that I could hide here. If there is any disturbance, please forgive me. By chance. After hearing her words, the patriarch's face was still expressionless. He obviously didn't believe her words at all. The border of Yugwashin used a special array to build on this holy spring. If you just ran here by chance, how could you have such a great ability to destroy the border in a panic? Yunwoo's brow wrinkled. She really didn't know how she got here. She only vaguely remembered that little potato broke the border that day, and she was so painful that her memory was a little vague. How could she pay attention to these? But when the patriarch asked, she didn't know how to answer. The Lord stood quietly in front of her. The long sword was shining, waiting for her answer. As the suzerain leader of Yugwashin, her strength can be regarded as the top. Naturally, it can be seen that the strength of the woman in front of her is not enough to break the barrier. Someone must be helping her. Now, he just wants Yunwoo to say who that person is and where he is. I can't tell why. Yunwoo shook his head after a long silence. The patriarch's eyes sank. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. Having said that, the patriarch moved his hand again. As soon as his gesture changed, the sword that stayed by his side moved again. This blow, compared with the last one, is the difference between heaven and earth. Yunwoo tries to distinguish where the sword flies, but she finds that her eyes can't catch the trace of the sword, and what makes her feel helpless is that her body can't move. What a powerful pressure! Yunwoo was shocked. The master's strength was as strong as knight's. Just as Yunwoo watched the sword fly towards him, thinking that he would die, a small figure suddenly appeared in front of him. At the next moment, I felt that my whole body was light, and then I suppressed my authority, and it was no longer there. Then I saw that the little figure was a little potato coming back. Little potato! Cloud Dance exclaimed in surprise. There was no time to feel the joy of escaping from the edge of life and death. Warm liquid flowed out between her legs. The amniotic fluid is broken. Unexpectedly, I gave birth to a broken amniotic fluid, and there is amniotic fluid in the back gabble. Small potato mouth said messy language. A pair of small eyes, but not polite, in the face of the flying sword, directly rushed past, like to vent all their anger. He just left for a while, dare to hurt his master. How absurd. Small body with a strong momentum directly rushed up. The original momentum of the sword, even in contact with the small potato body, bang sound as if installed on a hard stone in general. The next moment, the original power wrapped in the sword disappeared, and the long sword bang fell to the ground. You are. The patriarch was shocked and looked at the little guy who was staring at him angrily in front of him. He was so surprised that he could not speak. He frowned and thought for a long time before he finally remembered. You are the offspring of the poor and strange people. However, as soon as his words were finished, a small figure came running over and stopped by the side of Little Potato. Round body is full of mud, but can be seen that it is a small child, a pair of watery eyes also staring at him. Clearly a child, even looks like an emperor. Big, the little fat girl waved her little fist, but she couldn't speak. She kept on saying something. It was supposed to be full of comic effect, but the patriarch couldn't laugh at all because he felt the unprecedented dark atmosphere in the child. Darkness and light, from yin to yang, restrain each other and cannot coexist. Where the son of darkness goes, there will be light. Darkness takes over light. Life is ruined. All things are destroyed, and heaven and earth are no longer the ancient and dignified warning reverberated in the master's mind, which made him cool. Darkness takes over light. Life is ruined. All things are destroyed. Heaven and earth are no longer. The patriarch only felt that at this moment he seemed to have foreseen what the future would be like. A terrible picture. The son of darkness appeared, but the son of light did not have any sign. Was the day coming in the language? You are the son of darkness. The patriarch looked at the little fat girl in front of him in shock, and the words in his mouth fell into the ears of Little Potato and Little Fat Girl, but they did not understand the meaning of these three words. Ah! Yunwoo's scream instantly attracted the attention of the three people in the confrontation. They turned around one after another and saw that Yunwoo had completely lying on the ground, and his bulging stomach contracted in bursts, which turned out to be the appearance of childbirth. When the patriarch's eyes touched her abdomen again, the eyes that were full of despair suddenly flashed a burst of light. Who else can have such a strong breath besides the son of light? Goo 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 goo. Little Potato quickly turned around to Cloud Dance's side, looking at her painful appearance, anxiously flying back and forth. Put her in the hot spring. The patriarch who had been confronting them just now suddenly opened his mouth. Although his words were still light, there was no doubt about it. His eyes were always on Yunwoo's stomach. Cloud Dance endured the pain and looked at the Lord in White. Some of them didn't know why they wanted to hurt the killer, but now they wanted to help themselves. But it's too late to think more. I have a lot of pain in my stomach. I also know that it's the best choice to enter the hot spring at this time. Goo goo. Little Potato doesn't listen to the Lord. In his opinion, this man is a bad man. He can't believe what he says. Until Yunwoo breathlessly said, Little Potato, take me go to the hot spring. Little Potato pulled Cloud Dance up and slowly put it into the hot spring. The warm water envelopes her body, and the strong, bright breath continuously rushes towards the Cloud Dancing body, which is absorbed by the children in her stomach. Gigi goo goo. Small potatoes feel the changes in the body of Cloud Dance, happily flying around her. Duh. Little Fat Girl also ran past with a pair of short legs, lying on the edge of the hot spring, curiously stretching her head and looking at the reaction of Cloud Dance, with a pair of watery big eyes open, as if to welcome the arrival of younger brother and sister. Yugwashin's patriarch's attention is attracted by the little fat girl, and finally transferred from Yunwoo to the little fat girl. At this time, the patriarch thought of a language and the warning handed down from generation to generation. If light suppresses darkness, all things will be born and life will be happy. When darkness suppresses light, chaos changes and heaven and earth merge. If you see the son of darkness one day, don't be merciful. You must cut down the grass to protect all things. The teachings of Yugwashin's masters kept circling, reminding him again and again what to do. Now the opportunity is in front of him, and he is still a dark son who has not yet grown up. The Lord's eyes sank and finally made up his mind. The right hand quickly raised. The sword flew up again. The holy light instantly released, while the little potato and Cloud Dance were not on guard, directly stabbed to the little fat girl. I'm sorry, the Lord said silently in his heart. The sword is shining white, as cold as the moon. Little fat girl is unprepared. She doesn't even know when the sword wind is coming. Whoosh! A long sword across. Small potatoes issued a rapid Gigi sound. The figure flashed directly in front of the little fat girl. This sword contains all the strength of the patriarch. Although he knows that little fat girl has not yet grown up, he dare not ignore the teachings handed down by the ancestors of all the masters. If he fails, it will be very difficult for him to find another chance. In this way, how can he not do his best? Bang! A small potato temporary summoned the border can't resist the Lord's full force. When the two collide, a loud bang. The whole energy in the cave will shake up. The border of little potato is broken, and then the sword wind keeps on stabbing at little potato. Gigi dash, the little potato screamed, which made Cloud Dance's whole blood coagulate. The long sword on his fingertip stabbed the little potato's body. When the sword was about to come, with the little potato's scream, he made a layer of border in front of him, just like the last piece of armor. The sword slammed, and the little potato flew out like a little beast with broken wings, and the border on his body was broken again. The master stepped out step by step and quickly reached out his hand to catch him, but he just stopped. He is the patriarch of Yuguishan and has the obligation to kill the son of darkness, but he does not intend to hurt the innocent. If it is said that Yunwu wanted to kill Yuguishan in the first place because of the rule that the forbidden area of Holy Spring should not be touched by ordinary people, then later when he knew that Yunwu was pregnant with the Son of Light, he didn't have this idea, let alone kill the descendants of this poor and strange people. But he knew better that if he caught him, it would be difficult for him to attack the Son of Darkness. As a result, he watched the little potato fly out, banging against the mountain wall, and then landing heavily on the ground. The little fat girl exclaimed. She crawled toward the little potato with both hands and feet. She was only a few months old, but she moved very quickly. But she climbed to the little potato's side in an instant. The patriarch wanted to continue to work, but he only heard the sound of Hua. Unexpectedly, Yunwu stood up from the hot spring. If you dare to touch her again, I will not spare you. Gu Wu's sword is in his hand. The voice of Cloud Dance is cold and resolute. His beautiful eyes are full of murderous chi. Although he has a big stomach, he still has strong pressure. The black flame is burning on the ancient sword, and the clouds are dancing step by step out of the hot spring. The bare feet on the ground leave marks mixed with blood. Between her legs, there is a mixture of amniotic fluid and blood constantly sliding down. The pupil of the patriarch shrunk, and his eyes looked at her stomach from the moment Yunwu appeared. This woman suddenly appeared mysteriously in the hot spring. The patriarch felt very strange. Why is she clearly immortal with a bright sun in her stomach? Why is she clearly pregnant with the Son of Light, but to protect the Son of Darkness? All of all, lets Jade's son return have to face up to the woman in front of, don't say is again moved to kill heart. At this time of he just want to make clear all things. Who the hell are you? The Lord frowned and looked at the cloud dance. Although Yunwu was nervous, she still kept calm. She was covered with fighting spirit. Gu Wu's broadsword was lying horizontally in front of the little fat girl. She pursed her mouth tightly, and her eyes didn't blink. And who are you? She looked very embarrassed. The red and white liquid between her legs kept flowing down, and her face was pale, but she didn't feel any retreat. The always hard-hearted patriarch was touched by some inexplicable feelings. I didn't expect that the woman who had just been under his hands could be so strong. After a long silence, the patriarch seemed to have finally put down his identity. He replied faintly, "My name is Yuzigi. I'm the master here." As soon as the voice fell, there was a rush of footsteps coming from the entrance of the cave, and they came in neat. A moment later, a team of Yuguishan bodyguards came in, standing behind Yuzigi. "Lord, this woman." Yuzi raised his hand and looked at the elder standing in the crowd. He sighed helplessly. "You don't have to step in." Yuzigi's subordinates are baffled. They follow the elder's orders and come here to catch the invaders. But now it seems that the patriarch wants to protect the invaders. Suddenly, the guards looked at the elder in doubt, but found that their elder was looking at the pale woman with a big belly in shock. "Elder," the bodyguard finally asked in a voice. The voice pulled the elder out of the shock, and then he felt his gaff. He quickly took back the sight glued to Yunwu, but he still looked at his eyes from time to time, and his eyes were full of deep. "Listen to the Lord," the elder said in a deep voice. "The water vapor from the hot spring around us miss everything around us." Little Potato jumps to Yunwu's shoulder, flapping his little wings, blinking at Yuzi Gui and his men. Little Fat Girl is also angry, as if threatening each other's people. "Little Potato, protect her," Cloud Dance said softly, but what she said was that she was worried about her children. At the same time, the purple fighting spirit forms a defense and wraps itself tightly. It's very weak because it's about to give birth, but it just reminds me that the hand holding the knife can't tremble. Oh, are there so many people? Cloud danced, a pair of eyes bright, astonishing. Looking at a group of people appeared again, Sneer said. A little girl. She doesn't care about her body. She's pregnant. She dares to do it, and she's not afraid to hurt her baby. The elder stretched out his hand and stroked the beard on his chin and said with a smile, if it wasn't for him, Yuzi would still look like a kind old man. What else? Cloud Dance said with a sneer. Don't you want me to walk over and let you butcher me? Such impolite words moved the faces of the guards around him. After so many years in Yugoshin, how could anyone dare to speak so impolitely to the elder? At this time, the guards began to admire the courage of Cloud Dance. But the elder didn't get angry. He still shook his head with a smile. He looked like an old man doting on his granddaughter. He said helplessly, he's smart. Yunwoo sneered and did not speak. The pain in her abdomen made her unable to delay. She was afraid that if she delayed further, the child would have an accident. Yuzigi obviously saw her to be brave, but in the face of Yunwoo's strong intention to kill, he also knew that he couldn't let Yunwoo listen to him. After pondering for a moment, he said, Come on. Why are you here? What's your origin? And who is the father of the child? As long as you say it, I will ask the best doctor to deliver you. Otherwise, if you go on like this, I'm afraid the baby in your stomach will be difficult to keep. What if I don't? Cloud Dance said with a sneer. It's not that she has to hide something. She can answer the first two questions, but the last one, is it difficult for her to tell the story of Dragon's evil? What's more, now she is obviously in a weak position, and Little Potato has been injured because of the blow just now. If she says everything now, she is afraid that she will lose her support. For today's sake, we can only pretend to have trump card. The power of Dragon's evil is dark. It's obviously different from these people. If Cloud Dance says it, it's uncertain that they will attack Dragon's evil. Yuzi Gue didn't say a word when he saw Yunwoo, so he could not help frowning. If he didn't say a word, I'm afraid the current scene would be frozen all the time. Yuzigi's tone is light. There is no threat tone. Even it sounds light, but it can't let people ignore his bearing. Are you threatening me? Cloud Dance says coldly. There is cold sweat to flow down again on forehead. Not a threat. Yuzigi said, I'm just saying a fact. I want to know the answers I just said. Say, the vision of Jade's sun return, then light flowed a project to Cloud Dance behind a small fat girl body. Little fat girl hides behind Yunwoo, sits on the ground, holds Yunwoo's legs, and looks at a group of people in front of her curiously. Because of her dark nature, he is very alert to Yuzigi and others. Cloud Dance heart is sink, looking at Jade's sun return gradually cold eyes, eyebrows also gradually wrinkled up. I don't have to tell you. Are you a member of the Bright family? Yuzigi takes back her eyes on the little fat girl and asks Yunwoo. Cloud dances to pause for a while, seem to be to detect Jade's sun return to put away to kill an idea. This just ordered a nod. You know, I can let you go, or I can kill you. Jade's sun return light of say. Since you are the person of Bright Clan, originally should be one self-person, we should not be so hostile. Because Yunwoo was already very weak, and now she is too nervous, and the hot spring is steaming up. Yunwoo feels a little dizzy. But in spite of this, Yunwoo still didn't mean to retreat. It seemed that no matter what Yuzigi said, she would not retreat. Even when she heard Yuzigi's words, she sneered. Yuzigi was helpless, sighed, put his hand behind him, and said, Since you are so firm, why don't we make a deal? What deal? I can let you out of here. Even the poor bird can leave with you. Of course, if you like, the holy spring can also be used for you to bless the safe birth of your baby. Cloud Dance brow pick to pick the condition. She doesn't believe it. The sky will really drop high. Leave the sun of darkness behind. As soon as Yuzigi said this, Yunwoo suddenly became indifferent again. The ancient martial arts sword, which was originally intended to be put down, suddenly became horizontal again. Yunwoo's body is full of murderous spirit for a moment. She doesn't move. She still protects the little fat girl behind her. She says in a cold voice, She's my daughter. If you want to hurt my daughter, even if you fight for her life, I won't let you go. This is her daughter? Yuzigi's heart was full of waves. Yuzigi's sight lingers on the body of little fat girl and Yunwoo. It's clear that Yunwoo's stomach is still big, and it looks like she is about to give birth. But this little fat girl is only a few months old, but she says it's her child. How is that possible? Generally speaking, if one is pregnant with 2 children and the 2 children are not born together, then the second child who does not come out will surely die. I don't care whose child this is. You'd better give this fat girl to me. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can't bear my means. Yuzi said coldly, I believe you are not ignorant of current affairs. But Yunwoo didn't listen at all and still stood in front of the little fat girl. It seems that this little fat girl should be the dark sun who destroys the fairyland. Yuzi hesitates in his heart and is eager to protect the calf in front of him. But if this dark sun can't be killed before he grows up, I'm afraid he will follow the prophecy and cause inevitable damage to the Light Clan. Some complex in the heart, but suddenly frown, harshly weigh. Quickly give this child to me. Yunwoo gradually narrowed his eyes, and his intention of killing suddenly came into being. He looked at Yuzigi, who was also full of killing intention in front of him. I said, no one is allowed to move my child. Whoosh! There was a sudden sound around him. An ray of light flew out of Yunwoo's shoulder and immediately flew towards Yuzi's return. Yuzi couldn't help but be surprised. What a fast speed! What is this? At this time, the light just shows its real face, its little potato. Small potato, circle, flapping small wings, suddenly appeared in front of Yuzigi. The next second, it suddenly into a group of light, suddenly hit Yuzigi's body. Suddenly, Yuzigi has been in the same place. Can't move. Cloud Dance sneers, good little potato. Suddenly, she raised her hand. Because she absorbed the power of light, the power of the sorcerer in her body suddenly rose. She aroused the power in her body and attacked Yuzi. Yuzigi, because of Zayatudu's immobility, could not move, but the people around him were surprised. This man actually used the power of the wizard of the Guangming clan. Frown tight, Jade Sun returned, but sink into meditation. Since is the person of Sorcery Clan, why can have so strong kill heart? However, just for a moment, Yunwoo's sword, mixed with the power of the witch family, had been cut on Yuzigi. The bright energy on Yuzi's body suddenly resists part of Yunwoo's strength, and also releases Zayatuda's body. All the people around gathered to see the injury of the Lord. Yuzigi frowned and stepped back. He looked down at the place where he had been cut. It only hurt his skin and blood. After all, they all belong to the Light Constitution, so the power of the witch family doesn't do any serious harm to Yuzi. When he turns to Yunwoo, he finds that this woman's heart is really stronger than gold. Backhand will be just fixed in their own small potatoes to grasp. Jade Sun to grasp a pair of his wings. He will lift up, lightway. You are capable of no small. Small potato frowned, a face of anger wriggling his round body. Want to get rid of Yuzi. Jade Sun return a light smile. Shake hands to throw it out. Whoosh! Little potato has no power to resist. He draws a curve and falls to a stone. He doesn't move. Big. The little fat girl suddenly yelled, but she could not speak, but she frowned and danced. Obviously, she was still quite angry about the little potato being thrown away. She suddenly flew up and rode on Yuzigi's neck. Her face turned red and her mouth was tight. Cloud Dance, almost crazy Zheng is there. This little fat girl and Small Potato's relationship is really good. Can't help but pursed a smile. Yuzigi raised his hand, held back his anger, raised his hand and waved to the little fat girl on his neck. Little fat girl saw a pair of hands suddenly waved. Want to hit her. Anger more Sheng. Suddenly opened his mouth. The mouth has no teeth grow out, but still spare no effort to bite in Yuzigi's neck. As soon as Yuzigi's face changed, his brows could not help wrinkling. The child dared to ride on Yuzigi's neck. It really makes people feel sad. Little fat girl sits on Yuzigi's neck, raises her small fist, and beats Yuzigi's head hard, but the elder just stands by and looks at everything in front of her with a smile. Yuzigi couldn't bear it anymore. He was planning to take her off her neck, but suddenly, in a trance, he frowned, rubbed his eyes, looked forward, but found that the front is still a blur. Lord, what's the matter with you? There are hands around anxiously shouting. Jade's son to see two hands and Big Elder in a hurry to come forward. But then he staggered for a moment, looked at the clouds in front of him in a trance, and fell to the ground with a plop. Cloud Dance can't help but open her mouth and look at little fat girl in shock. Dragon's blood has the effect of being addicted to poison. Needless to say, now little fat girl just bites Yuzi and comes home, and he's already unconscious. It seems that little fat girl's saliva is better than Dragon's blood. But the little fat girl still didn't feel relieved. She continued to ride on Yuzigi, kicking, beating, and biting the comatose Yuzigi. Yuzigi's entourage was surprised to see the farce. The patriarch was in a coma at this time. They turned their heads and looked at Yunwoo, but they saw that Yunwoo was standing there quietly. The weapons in their hands are all aimed at Yunwoo, and they're all angry. Yunwoo looks at the little fat girl and sighs, but the pain in her stomach has become very strong now. Yunwoo presses her stomach, frowns, and walks into the hot spring step by step. Little Potato stood aside, watching little fat girl's action, sighed, went forward, patted little fat girl's head with little wings. The little fat girl seems very angry. She doesn't care whether little Potato comes to her side or not. She still punches and kicks the patriarch, who falls on the ground. She grunts angrily and doesn't know what to say. Little Potato is very helpless, rushed forward to drag little fat girl's body, take her away from the Lord's side. The elders saw that the little fat girl had been taken away. He quickly came forward and helped Yuzigi up. But Yuzigi still closed his eyes and fell asleep and didn't want to wake up at all. Tell me, what did you do to our Lord? One of the guards could not bear it last. He stepped forward and asked carefully but fiercely. Cloud Dance, where have spirit to talk with him, slowly sit into the hot spring. Little fat girl and little Potato also came to her side, a worried look at her. The elder called the guard back, frowned, and motioned him not to speak. He looked down at Yuzi Gui, who was supported by him, and sighed. The pain in her stomach made her gasp. She raised her head and closed her eyes. The tendons on her forehead burst, and her teeth clenched. Her whole body trembled violently, and her sweat rolled down from her forehead. When did the bodyguards who stood around see a woman giving birth to a child? They were embarrassed and did not dare to leave. Their faces were red, and they all stood aside at a loss. The elder's eyes suddenly radiated light. He touched his beard, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. He was very happy. Well, she groaned, clenched her teeth, and her hair was wet with sweat. Her face was pale, and she bit her lips hard, until her lips were bitten with blood, and the frequency of labor became shorter and shorter. At this time, she could feel that her stomach was about to be torn. Little fat girl and little Potato's eyes are full of worry, some inexplicable anxiously watching Cloud Dance. The water of the hot spring is gurgling. The warm light energy is flowing slowly in the spring, and the Cloud Dance feels that everything in front of her has been empty, and the pain makes her eyes dark. Small Potatoes in the cloud, next to see the abnormal anxiety, round body in the cloud head side to jump. Little fat girl also frowned. Fat hands in the Cloud Dance is full of sweat. Forehead gently wiped. Curling mouth looks very sad. She patted Cloud Dance cheek. It seems that you cheer up a little. Yunwoo smiles powerlessly, biting her teeth and holding her breath, but the child still doesn't come out, with abdominal pain. Yunwoo's eyes are red and his face is blue and white. He grabs a stone on the bank and holds it hard. Blood along the fingers slowly flowed down. Yunwoo's body twitched like a spasm. Her tears finally flowed down. Suddenly heard a bang. Yunwoo will bite his teeth. But also in this moment, a small life along the hot spring water sliding down. Great! The elder clapped his hand and laughed, touching his beard and smiling kindly. Sitting in a coma, Yuzi Jui finally frowned and slowly opened his eyes. As soon as his eyes were focused, he suddenly saw an incredible scene. The power of light around him, with the speed visible to the naked eye, quickly gathered to his own child in front of him, with the sound of the wind, because the wind brought by the large concentration of power moved the hair of the people around him, and the beard of the elder was dancing in the wind. Such a powerful force. Yunwoo is terrified. She is afraid that such a powerful force will rush into the child's body, and the child will not be able to eat so much energy, and her whole body will be broken and die. She quickly reaches out her hand to hold the child in her arms. But suddenly, that gathered into a hurricane force, suddenly into the arms of the baby's body. Cloud Dance can't help but open his mouth, only feel the air around, the original sufficient light energy, in an instant, suddenly disappeared, along with the whole hot spring energy, also disappeared. She finally understood that this energy storm was actively absorbed by her own children. The bodyguard was so scared that he stood there, but Yuzigi stood there, his mouth slightly raised. Shwa! A white light from the sky, the whole hot spring all package, instant, the whole hot spring location began to emit a faint light. Yuzi looked up at the sky. The white light was huge and bright, but it was very gentle. It seemed that the birth of the Son of Light really shocked the whole fairyland. He touched his neck and found 2 wounds and blood. Yuzigi couldn't help laughing when he was bitten and bleeding. Unexpectedly, this child's teeth are not as long as they are. If he doesn't get rid of them before he grows up, maybe this child will become a disaster. Suddenly, Yuzigi and Elder are completely stunned because they feel that an energy storm, all the bright energy in the whole hot spring, has disappeared completely in this short time. 2 people looked at each other for a long time. They both saw the inconceivable in each other's eyes, and the guards also felt it. They looked around in horror. What kind of monster was this woman born with? Stunned, Yuzigi thought of Yunwoo, who had just given birth to her baby. She looked up and saw the hot spring in front of her. I saw the weak and tired Cloud Dance, holding the child who was washed clean by the hot spring water, falling asleep with closed eyes, and leaning gently against the stone beside the hot spring. A child in her arms, quietly breathing, body wrapped with golden energy, led his little body in the arms of the clouds, emitting light. Beside, little fat girl and little potato seemed to be 2 loyal little bodyguards. They look at a group of people fiercely and sit on the head of Yunwoo with a look of death. Yuzigi was dumbfounded and laughed. There was a burst of tenderness in her eyes. The woman in front of her, even though she was in a mess, was almost dead, but she still wanted to give birth to her child. Son of Light. Yuzigi narrowed his eyes, murmured, carried his hands, and raised his mouth slightly. Finally, Yunwoo in the hot spring opened her tired eyes, and her whole body seemed to be in a state of pain and weakness. She turned her head and looked at the fuzzy world in front of her in a trance. Elder and Yuzigi just stood there, smiling at Yunwoo, as if it was not the child in her hand who had just absorbed the bright energy of their sect. Little Potato and Little Fat Girl open their eyes when they see Yunwoo and come to Yunwoo's side in a hurry, rubbing Yunwoo's cheek intimately. Cloud Dance laughs to vomit a breath. The facial expression is pale of low head looking at the small baby in own bosom. Baby warm nestled in their own body, small thin. A birth began to sleep, indicating that the body is particularly weak, even not as big as the general full-term children, light floating. Cloud Dance holds up bursts of heartache, but his whole body exudes the power of light, but still warm and pure. This let Cloud Dance can't help but crack the corner of the mouth, smile happy. Finally, this one's self once thought to want the child in the womb. Finally, real birth. Suddenly feel someone around. Cloud Dance this just in the heart of tight. Think of side still have a coma of Jade Sun return. Suddenly the whole person all awake. Then he turned his head and looked at Yuzi Gui on guard. But he saw that Yuzi Guizheng was looking at himself with a smile. Standing there, it seemed that there was no serious problem. Are you awake? Yuzigi stood aside and looked at Yunwoo gently. Do you feel okay? Yunwoo lowers her head, hugs the child in her arms, and says nothing. Since the baby has been born, why don't you go out with me? I'll take you to eat and have a good rest. Yuzigi carried his hands on his back, and his handsome face was shining gently. You know, even if you can stay in the hot spring all the time, children can't do it. This guy let go. Yunwu frowned. At that time, it was clear that she was going to kill the child. Now she asked her to take care of her body gently. She couldn't help thinking of the night. Yunwu was a little unprepared, but when she thought that the little fat girl was still by her side, she suddenly felt nervous. She hugged the little fat girl lying beside her, lowered her head, and looked alert. She was already murderous. I don't believe you. You can rest assured that I am not the kind of person who will imprison you because he wants to destroy the son of darkness. Yuzigi said, the people of Guangming sect are always open and aboveboard. He turned to look around and said, come on, help the girl to your house. Yunwu wants to say something more, but the people around Yuzigi have already helped Yunwu up. One is holding a little fat girl, and the other is holding the just-born son of Guangming and going out. Seeing someone holding little fat girl, she felt nervous for a while. With her current ability, there was no way to deal with the bodyguards in front of her. What's more, there was the unfathomable Yuzi Gueha Elder. If these people took little fat girl away and killed her now, she would only have the job of watching. Yunwu lowers her head and is thinking about how to deal with it when she suddenly sees that Yuzi Gui's people have taken her to her room and put the two children on the bed. Then she retreats, leaving Yuzi Gui alone. He sat on the stool and motioned Yunwu to sit down. Yunwu turned to look at the two sleeping children on the bed, hesitated for a moment, and sat down. After a while, a maid came in one by one with a tray and put the dishes in the box on the table one by one. At last, the table couldn't be put down, so she had to stand aside. Come and eat, Yuzigi said with a smile. Another maid came behind her and put all the clothes on the tray on the bed. Then she stepped back. You are delicious. If you have anything you want to eat, just tell me. I will satisfy you. Then change your clothes and have a rest here. With that, Yuzigi got up and went out. Close the door gently. Yunwu blinked, completely did not think what happened, looked down at a table of delicacies, and then turned to look at the two children and small potatoes who were sleeping together. After a moment of meditation, he slowly went to the door, inserted the door, picked up the clothes to change, picked up the chopsticks on the table to clip the food on the table. The taste of the food was so tempting that Yunwu's stomach began to coo, which made her blush. Fortunately, there was no one else in the room. But what if it's toxic? Yunwu frowned and thought about it. Looking at the dish he picked up, he hesitated to move his mouth. He pondered for a moment, then suddenly sighed with a smile. If he wanted to kill himself, he would have done it already. Why wait until now? Think so. Rai smile. Look at this place. Almost everyone's realm is unfathomable. Who can't kill now powerless woman? So he vomited and took a big bite with chopsticks. Now the best way is to save your strength quickly and put everything in front of you down. He turned his head and looked at the two children nearby. Finally, he felt that his whole body was relaxed. A heart hanging for so long, finally put down. The cabin is quiet and comfortable. The clouds are dancing and eating quietly. But Yunwu didn't know that it had already caused a huge sensation outside. Lord, the whole sect is in chaos. Lord, our abundant light energy suddenly disappeared. What's the matter? Lord, what is it? The whole hot spring is surrounded by light. Yuzigi stood there quietly, with his hands on his back and his mouth turned up. Several other factions, too, suddenly began to stir. The light from the sky startled all sides. Everyone seems to know the Son of Light was born. In another space, Knight suddenly opened his eyes full of surprise, hurried to sit up. The Son of Light energy almost delivered to every corner. Knight suddenly clenched his fists, biting his teeth. So long planned, finally let the Son of Light was born. Resentment in the heart. Let Knight eyes instantly red, but his cold smile, the light in the eyes is more persistent. Son of Darkness, he must get it. In the hot spring cave, Yunwu, as always, holds her little son in the hot spring. It's been several days since he was born, but the youngest son still looks weak. The strong, bright smell in the hot spring keeps drilling into his body. It's such a small body, but it absorbs more power than everyone here. Yunwu has no choice but to let him. Well, Wake up! The little son slowly opened his eyes, issued a murmur, and then skillfully stretched out his hand to grab Yunwoo's chest, mouth long twice. Yunwoo was awakened by the villain in her arms. A pair of sleepy eyes looked at the little son, who woke up and began to look for food. A helpless smile rose from the corner of her mouth. You are so greedy. Why don't you see your sister like you? In spite of this, Yunwoo didn't dare to delay at all. She quickly raised her clothes and fed her little son for fear that she would be hungry after a while. The child was weak from birth, and even more careless after birth. Although Yugishin's mind was also on the child, it was because of this that Yunwoo became more nervous. Little son Goo, holding Cloud, danced to eat. Small appearance does not understand his mother's mind, only know that he is hungry to eat. Bright breath will be two people just wrapped in. Cloud danced satisfied, looking at the arms of the child, gently sighed. Well, the youngest son soon finished sucking one side of the milk. He didn't feel satisfied with eating a lot. He scratched and pulled everywhere with small hands and feet. He kept saying a lot of words in his mouth. He was not happy. All right, stop it. I'll continue to feed you. Yunwoo coaxed the baby in her arms, but the action on her hand was not slow. She quickly changed the direction of her little son and continued to feed him. The little fat girl curiously looked at Yunwoo's younger brother, a pair of big watery eyes flickering. There is no meaning of food. But the saliva at the corner of her mouth betrayed her. After staring at her for a long time, she finally couldn't help reaching out and pinching her brother's cheek. Nyo, don't make trouble. Are you hungry too? Cloud Dance quickly grabbed the little fat girl's hand and asked. The little fat girl, just now also hear this words immediately seemed to have been wrong like flat mouth, said, hungry. Today's little fat girl has learned some simple words. When she says hungry in her soft voice, she is very cute. It seems that her heart is melting. Yunwoo looks at her little son, who is eating with relish in her arms, and then looks up at the cute little fat girl. For a moment, she doesn't know who should eat first. Why are you both hungry at the same time? Cloud Dance said with a sad face, like the mother of an ordinary family. Fortunately, the youngest son in his arms finally had enough to eat at this time. He hit his mouth with satisfaction and gave a belch. By the way, he looked up at the fat girl and rolled his eyes. He seemed to disdain her for being cute, so he continued to stay in Cloud Dance's arms and planned to sleep again. The little fat girl widened her eyes and instantly put away her pitiful expression, as if she was dissatisfied with the younger brother. She reached out and tried to pinch him, but she was stopped by Yunwoo and held him in the other side of her arms to start feeding. The little fat girl gave a cold hum and began to eat. It's hard. Cloud Dance stretched out his hand and two babies' face pinch, helplessly said a word. Just as the three of them were enjoying such a warm moment, the guard at the entrance of the cave heard notice. Newspaper. The Lord came to see his wife. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed and immediately said, let him wait. The Son of Light is eating. The voice at the door seemed to be hesitant for a moment, and then said, yes. The footsteps of the entrance of the cave sounded, and then Cloud Dance felt a familiar breath stopped at the entrance of the cave. It was Yuzigi, the leader of Yugishin. Cloud Dance imperceptibly frowned. His face flashed a touch of obvious displeasure, but just hid down, quietly waiting for the fat girl in his arms to eat. At the entrance of the cave, Yuzigi stood quietly at the door, without the slightest anxiety. The guards at the entrance of the cave looked at each other, and finally they couldn't help but open their mouth. Lord, why don't you urge your subordinates again? How can you let the Lord wait outside like this? Unexpectedly, before the man's words were finished, Yuzigi raised his hand to indicate that he didn't need to say more, and then his voice came faintly. It's okay. The Son of Light eats more than an average baby, and it's right to wait a little longer. The guards looked at each other, but they also knew that it was useless to persuade them. As long as the things decided by their patriarch were basically difficult to change, they had to go back to their own position and say nothing more. Little by little, the little fat girl in the cave finally had enough to eat. She touched her belly with satisfaction and belched. Then she left the embrace of Cloud Dance and went to the edge of the hot spring to play. Yunwoo slowly arranged his clothes, then said to the outside, "Let the Lord wait for a long time. Please come in." As soon as the voice fell, the footsteps at the entrance of the cave sounded again, and came in steadily, until it was only 2 zhang away from the hot spring. "Madam," Jade's son returned, light of spit out 2 words. The tone isn't up gallant, but again take a little respect. First, he said hello to Yunwoo, and then he put his eyes on the Son of Light. The body of the Son of Light has been recovering day by day. I think he won't have a stay in the hot spring in the near future. Yuzugi suddenly said, "The meaning of the words is very obvious, but Yunwoo pretends not to understand." At the moment, Yunwoo sneered and said, "Is the Lord going to drive us out of the holy spring?" Yuzigui's brow wrinkled. "Madam, I mean." "What do you mean?" The cloud dances sternly way. "On the one hand, don't allow me to leave here. On the other hand, let us leave Holy Spring. Treat me politely while thinking about my daughter's life. Is this your style of Yugui-shan?" Yuzigi lightly listened to the words of Cloud Dance and spit out a few words. "The problem of principle. I protect you, but I have to get rid of your daughter." "Principles?" Cloud Dance sneer away. "Just be self-righteous. Take for granted. Let's take as an excuse." Yuzugi's vision swept over several figures in the cave. Seeing that everything was as usual, he directly ignored Yunwoo's words and turned to leave. Before leaving, he did not forget to leave. "Madam, have a good rest. I think the young master will be strong soon." Then he went straight out. Yunwoo was so angry that he wanted to kill him directly. What's the difference between treating himself like this and the original night? One wants to kill his son, the other wants to kill his daughter. Duh. Little fat girl seems to know something. Climbed to Yunwoo's side, opened a pair of big eyes, pitifully stretched out her hand, and pulled Yunwoo's arm. Yunwoo took a deep breath, turned his head, and looked at the little fat girl who had been hiding behind him with a bitter smile on his face. "It's okay. I'll take you out." Duh. Little fat girl cleverly showed a smile, but the smile in the eyes of Yunwoo made her sad. "Little potato, can you help us hide our breath?" Cloud Dance turns to Small Potato to ask away. She has hidden beads and Chaos Palace, but her strength is too weak. No matter how many magic weapons she has, she can't escape in front of these experts, so she can only rely on Little Potatoes. "Gabble." Small Potato Mouth said, "Don't understand words," toward Cloud Dance nodded. "Well, we'll do it tonight." Cloud Dance said seriously. "Today, Yuzugi has just been here, and nothing abnormal has been found. Therefore, tonight must be safer than in the past. The longer the time goes, the more uncertain it will be." Although they couldn't escape Yuzugi's exploration, Yunwoo really didn't pay attention to the guards close to the entrance of the cave. Time a little bit of the past. Finally, the night came quietly. 2 hours ago, a new group of bodyguards changed outside the door. Yunwoo quietly wakes up to Do. Little Potato nodded clearly, then flew directly. A light white light appeared from his forehead. Just for a moment, they fell on the forehead of Yunwoo, Little Pongyo, and Young Master. They were wrapped in an invisible border which not only hid their breath, but also their body shadow. "Go," Cloud Dance said, and then picked up the Young Master, while let the fat girl lie on his back. Small Potato quickly flew to the top of the 3 people's head, while 3 people directly where Belt fly up. The figure was covered by the border, and the strength of the outside Yuwishin disciples was not high, so they could not see them at all, so they flew out directly. The Young Master is always sleeping. After he left the hot spring, his absorption of light is much slower. Cloud Dance specially observed for a while, and felt that there was nothing different, so she was relieved. But Little Fat Girl didn't know whether she knew the reason for what was happening now, and she didn't cry. In this way, Yunwoo only feels that it saved a lot of trouble. "Little Potato, can you get out of here? Can you leave the fairyland?" Yunwoo asked. "Gigi." Small Potato answer, although still do not understand the words, but for a long time to get along with Cloud Dance has understood some, so listen will frown. Little potato means that it's okay to leave the border. It's a big deal to break through the border, just like last time, but it's difficult to leave the fairyland. Well, as long as you can get out of here, you can always find a way home. Cloud Dance Appraisal said. Gigi. Little Potato cheerfully called twice faster. Silent in the middle of the night, a line of 3 people and a beast quickly toward the last small potato break through the border of the place. I didn't expect the Jade Mountain to be so big. The cloud dances to fly in the sky. Looking at the building that continuously retreats below, can't help but praise away. Originally, she thought that Yugwashin was just an ordinary school occupying a mountain, but now it seems that it is a whole city. Just as she has been flying in the air for a while, she has seen many buildings. From the eye-catching signs, Yunwoo can vaguely distinguish all kinds of places. Even she has seen the signs of the auction house. Gigi, small potatoes happily should be with, for their own choice of a good place and proud. Finally, after another flight, the speed of Little Potato suddenly stopped. Well, here we are? Yunwoo asked suspiciously. Looking around, he found that he was in a small forest, empty. Yunwoo carefully listened to the movement around, but felt that there was a patrol in action not far away. Gigi Goo Goo. Little Potato was flying up and down anxiously, as if he had encountered something troublesome. Cloud, dance along. You mean they not only mended the border you destroyed before, but also strengthened the defense? Gigi. Got a small potato positive answer. Cloud, dance can't help but frown. How did not expect to escape after he would encounter such a situation? Is there no way to break through the border? Cloud Dance does not give up of ask away. Gigi Goo Goo. Little Potato means no. Now the power of the border is much stronger than before. Even if we can break through it, I'm afraid that if we move, the Lord of Yugwashin will come directly. At that time, we'll have to be arrested. This time, I'm afraid I'll face more than house arrest. Cloud Dance sighed, said, go to other places to see. As long as it is the border, there must be weak places. Yugwashin is so big, I don't believe they could defend everywhere. G Small Potato immediately should weigh, and don't worry, let Cloud dance 3 people alone here. So simply we'll 3 people up together to find a border weak place. Small Potato is very careful to find. Every place is not let go. With the poor and strange people's strong sense of energy, the whole border will turn around. However, they found that all weak places were guarded, and they would not be found if they flew in front of those guards. But if they dared to do anything to the border, they would be found immediately. Gigi Goo Goo. Little Potato flew around again, but finally he couldn't find it. So he had to find a secret place and put Yunwoo 3 down. He was dejected and stayed aside, looking rather depressed. In the silent night, 3 people and 1 beast sit together helplessly. The young master doesn't know when he wakes up. He is staring at the little fat girl and doesn't understand the distress in Yunwoo's heart. If they can't get out of the border, they may encounter the search of Yugwashin at any time. At dawn, the people at the entrance of the cave will find that they have escaped. If they can't leave tonight, they are afraid that the whole city will issue a wanted notice tomorrow. The most terrible thing is that the patriarch and elders of Yugwashin are so powerful that they can easily find themselves. Forget it. After a long silence, Yunwoo finally made a decision. Since we can't get out, we should stay for the time being. Instead of staying here all the time and waiting for them to find us, we'd better find a safer place to camouflage first, and then try to find a way. I don't believe it. Is it difficult for the Jade to return to the mountain, and it's not necessary to communicate with other countries? Yunwoo's words made his little potato feel energetic again, and he kept shouting. Yunwoo quickly should dash for fear that he might be excited and attract patrolmen. Little Potato, can you hide the dark smell of little fat girl? Cloud Dance pointed to the side of the little fat girl. To the little potato asked. Gigi. Little Potato quickly replied, and then flew directly to little fat girl. After 2 laps, he fell directly on little fat girl. The light came out from her and finally covered little fat girl. In the end, the figure of little potato disappeared completely. At that moment, the dark atmosphere of little fat girl disappeared completely. It looks like an ordinary little girl. Well done, Cloud Dance exclaimed and looked at the young master in his arms. Although he is the son of light, but since he was born, because of two weak reasons, his bright breath is not very strong. Yugwashin has such a strong atmosphere of light. There must be a lot of people who have the attribute of light on them. Cloud Dance thought, looking at the arms of the young master, think is not so outstanding. This conclusion can be seen from the disciples of Yugwashin. Every disciple she has seen so far will have a bright smell. So, Yunwu took out a few ordinary clothes from his ring and changed them all. After all this, I was left alone. People in the fairyland are different from those in the human world. Many people here will bring some energy even if they don't practice. But when Yunwu doesn't practice, they don't have it. So the problem now is that she needs to disguise herself as a real fairyland person. As the sun rose, the sky turned white. After sitting cross-legged in the forest for a long time, Yunwu finally found a balance point to stimulate the power of the witches in her body and make her look like she always has a bright smell. In this way, she finally looks similar to those people in the fairyland. Everything is ready. After dawn, Yunwu is carrying the young master and leading the little fat girl to the crowded place in the city. The next morning, at the holy spring of Yugwashin, Yuzigi calmly looked at the empty holy spring, even with the breath of the three people. Behind him, the Yugwashin disciple who went to inform himself was very careful. Pass on my orders, search the whole city, and make sure to get them back. Yes, the bodyguard behind him receives the order and immediately prepares to leave. As soon as the clinker moves, Yuzigi stops him. Wait, does the Lord still have orders? The bodyguard asked. Yuzigi's eyes flashed. I don't know how I thought of the appearance that Yunwu would protect the son of darkness that day. After a moment's silence, she said, Stay alive and let them come back safely. The guard was stunned and asked, Where is the son of darkness? Yuzi pursed her lips and said, There is no amnesty for killing. The boundary of Yugue Mountain is very large. Because there is a large natural hunting ground outside the city for the hunters in the city to hunt, the location of the boundary is included with that hunting ground. Cloud Dance 3 people originally avoid position in that hunting ground, take advantage of the dawn to walk toward the city gate. Little fat girl cleverly lies on Yunwu's body. She looks only a few months old, but she is very sensible. She doesn't say a word from the beginning to the end. She looks at the surrounding environment with big eyes and stares at the young master in Yunwu's arms from time to time. Because of the fear that Yugwashin people would find the trace, Yunwu didn't even dare to fly. He could only carefully observe the surrounding environment while walking forward. Finally, when the sun was on the top of the pole, he arrived at the gate of the city. Stop! The voice of the guard suddenly rang out. Yunwu was surprised, and his body flashed quickly. He immediately went to hide behind a big stone. After confirming that no one found himself, he stretched out his head to look at it. At the gate, besides the guard standing on both sides of the gate, there was another one who was obviously stronger. He was checking the people who entered the city one by one. The person who had just been stopped by the guard was looking at the coming guard with a confused face. Who are you? Do you know you have to hand in a pass to enter the city now? The guard went up to the man and looked up and down. Pass. That person is obviously One Lung. Is this? Then he took out a wooden card from his pocket. The guard took it and looked at it carefully. He was sure that it was the real one. Then he returned the card. All right, go in. The man put away the wooden card and saw that the guards are going to check other people. Officer, what are you doing? I haven't heard that the investigation is so strict before. The man asked curiously. Why do you ask so many questions? The guard was on the alert for a moment, and his hand on his side immediately grasped the knife beside him. Don't! The man waved his hand and said, It's not the first time I've been to the city. I'm the one who comes to do business. I come here once a month, but I used to be bodyguard Zhang here. That's why you see me. The guard looked him up and down and said, Why do you ask so many questions? The man could not help but frown and look worried. I'm not worried. You say I've been doing business for so many years, and I've never seen you Guishan so strict. I wonder what measures I'm going to take to deal with the outside world. If so, will it increase taxes and tolls? We are all family members of Yuguishan's disciples. At that time, don't worry, don't worry. The guard didn't want to listen to the man, so he just waved his hand and said, "This is only a special period. There's an order from the superior. If you want to catch someone, it's so strict. When people catch it, it will be the same as before." So, it is. That's good. That's good, the man said with a lingering fear. And now, I'm looking for faces. Today, bodyguard Zhang was sent to take care of Jejia. That's why he changed me. Don't worry. The faces of ordinary acquaintances are okay, the guard said, but remember to take the pass with you. Don't worry. I'm sure I have. Come on in. Don't delay us. The guard waved, and the man finally left the gate. The conversation between the two fell in Yunwu's ears. Until the man left for a long time, Yunwu was still hiding behind the stone, his brow locked. Well, the young master in his arms wakes up after sleep and just sends out a syllable. Yunwu makes a silent gesture. Shadash! The young master cleverly closed his mouth and looked up at the little fat girl lying on the shoulder of Yunwu. At this time, he was learning the way of Yunwu, just now. Holding a finger on the edge, the young master could not help but tilt his head and really didn't say a word. Cloud Dance frowned and looked at the guards who were strict in front of him. He didn't let go of any of them. No matter who had to have a pass to get in, if he met a new face, he would have to check again. It's really strict. Cloud Dance sighed and said, "Originally, I thought that I could just pretend to be a person in the fairyland, but I didn't expect that there were so many rules for Yuguishan. And the way these guards check just reminds her of one thing. It's very strict for Yuguishan to enter and leave." From the conversation just now, it's not difficult to infer that most of the people here are Yuguishan's disciples and their families. They have lived here for generations. If they appear rashly, even if they escape the examination of the guards, how can they make others not find that they are strangers? A woman who came to Yuguishan alone, with 2 children, thought it was too similar to the picture on the wall. Gigi Goo Goo. Hiding in the little fat girl, the little potato chirped a word, as if to remind the Cloud Dance what general. Yunwu's eyes are bright, right? Since you can't let yourself leave this strange face, just let everyone can't see you. But I have hidden pearls on my body. Thinking about this, Yunwu immediately took out the hidden bead from the portable space and urged it to move. As soon as the hidden bead was used, not only the shadow of Cloud Dance disappeared, but also the little fat girl on her body and the young master in her arms. Cloud Dance, heart of joy, big square from behind the stone came out. Even so, but still did not walk past all of a sudden, but a little bit close to the gate. There are bodyguards beside the wall with their own portraits. They seriously check everyone. Even some people are called by them before they get close to the gate. All the people line up and walk towards the city. Yunwu walked out from one side and carefully entered the guards. However, with the distance getting closer and closer, the guards seemed to have not seen Yunwu at all. If they were other people, they would have been ordered to stand in the team by the guards. Until then, Yunwu finally felt relieved. The young master and little fat girl in their arms didn't make any sound, so they let Yunwu take them into the city. "Stop! Who are you?" What a strange face. Just as Yunwu stepped into the city, the bodyguard behind him suddenly gave a cold drink. Yunwu's steps stopped in an instant, and almost immediately she wanted to take out Guwu's sword, but then she heard another voice. I'm from Bideo Villa." The man's voice sounded behind him. Cloud Dance turns ahead to see one eye. See, just now the bodyguard that talk is with other bodyguards together encircle a man to examine carefully. Cloud Dance, hard loose, hasten to speed up into the city. In the city, people come and go. Yunwu stands on the street, and no one can see her. The cries of vendors and the greetings of acquaintances are like a paradise. Yunwu didn't expect that the huge Yugue mountain would look so harmonious. Even after entering the city, there was a map of the whole Yugue mountain on the roadside. Cloud Dance walked past for the first time and looked carefully. This jade mountain is so big. Cloud Dance exclaimed, although originally no quite big, but did not expect more comprehensive than their own imagination. Throughout the city, mercenaries, auction houses, residential areas, markets, everything. On this sign, there are also the living rules of the immigrants in Yuguishin, which indicates in detail that the residents of Yuguishin are only disciples and their families, and other immigrants are not allowed to live for more than a month, let alone have houses in the city. In this way, isn't it easier to be recognized as a stranger? Cloud Dance frowned and said, just thinking about how to do it, I suddenly caught a glimpse of a corner on the brand, right next to the market. Although there was no sign, Yunwoo intuitively told herself that there must be a black market. Only this kind of place is the most suitable for the black door to stay. With this in mind, Yunwoo went to the black market without hesitation. Standing in the middle of the black market, watching the people coming and going in front of me, holding two children, I suddenly felt confused. It's really a black market. It's a mixture of good and bad. Cloud Dance exclaimed. It was surrounded by peddlers and tramps sitting around the corner with their hands on. But Yunwoo can't find a place to live, even if she can find a place to put her children down and let them have a good rest. He sighed dejectedly and walked slowly on the black market, but he didn't know where to go next. Hidden Pearl. Suddenly, a voice appeared behind Yunwoo, with indifference and laziness, but the three words he said made Yunwoo's heart thump. Who? Yunwoo felt nervous and turned to look behind him. He saw a slovenly man with stubble on his face, dirty and shabby all over, like a man who had just climbed out of the garbage heap. And he looked at the face of indifference, eyes on the body of Cloud, still no expression. If he is not the only one looking at himself, Yunwoo really thinks that he is looking for the wrong person. Cloud Dance suddenly felt a sense of crisis. This man is good or evil. Who are you? Cloud Dance frowned and began to speak. Who would have thought that the man actually only raised his eyelids, lazily looked at Yunwoo, but did not say a word. How do you know the hidden pearl? Cloud Dance frowned, indicating that she was very confused. A slovenly, bearded, and seemingly ordinary man sees through himself hidden in the hidden pearl, and the Cloud Dancing heart suddenly sets off a storm. The man still did not pay attention to the Cloud Dance. Eyebrow fine-tuning looked at the Cloud Dance, and then turned back. Cloud Dance quickly catch up. Hey, where are you going? But the man was still expressionless, and even didn't care to look at her. Yunwoo kept calling after him, but followed him to a room beside the alley. Where is this? Yunwoo seems to be used to his silence, but he still asks. It was a long abandoned mansion. In front of the house was overgrown with weeds. Even several pieces of marble at the door had been dug away. On that mansion, a signboard which could not read clearly was hanging obliquely. Yunwoo stood outside the house, looking at the door, which was not closed. Can I come in? Yunwoo asked. At present, there are unfamiliar places everywhere, and I don't have a place to settle down. It's not easy to meet a person who can see that he used hidden beads, but didn't say anything. He shouldn't leave easily. It's just that this person doesn't pay any attention to her. Cloud Dance is very helpless, since the man did not answer. Simply she directly sat on the floor outside the door, the two children in his arms. All the way has not opened the mouth of the little fat girl suddenly opened, a pair of big eyes pitifully looking at the Cloud, like hungry. Alas! Cloud Dance helplessly shook his head. This day and night she did not eat, were the milk. Behind the willing, the man did not seem to see her in general. Cloud Dance considered for a while, and finally asked, Do you have a house to borrow from me? The man still did not answer, doing what he was doing. Yunwoo wanted to ask again. Suddenly, there was a lot of noise outside the alley. Yunwoo's face changed, and she stood up. Her whole body was covered with fighting spirit, but she forced her down. Should dash. She hid quietly at the door and looked at the entrance of the lane. She only heard the voice of the search team coming from the entrance of the lane. It sounded like a large number of people. Yunwoo is a little anxious. He looks around in a hurry and looks for it. But suddenly he sees the room where the man just went in. The door is hidden. It seems that he is telling her that she can come in here. Eyes a turn, The corner of the mouth of Cloud Dance starts to put on a light smile. She swerved into the house and closed the door. "Excuse me." As soon as they entered the room, the search team had arrived, and countless people's footsteps and noise were hovering outside the door. "Here, you too. Go and have a look here. Look over there, too." In a hurry, the footsteps scattered at the door of the house. Cloud Dancy at the door, through the gap, looking at the people outside, only to see that group of people gradually scattered in the door. When the danger was relieved for a while, Yunwoo let out a long breath and then let go. It's finally dispersed. Yunwoo turns to see the house, which is very dilapidated. The land inside was overgrown with weeds, and the mansion was covered with dust. There was nothing inside except a pile of useless garbage. Everything was covered with a thick layer of dust. The only thing that can enter the eye is the stool that the man is sitting on. "Where the hell is this? Do you live here all the time?" Yunwoo asked. After the man found that he was hiding under the hidden bead, Yunwoo felt uneasy because she didn't know where it was and whether the people here had reached a certain level. She could see the existence of the hidden bead. Hidden pearl, will it be ineffective? Cloud Dance frowned and thought. After thinking for a long time, although the man can see the hidden bead, in order to protect himself, Yunwoo still does not remove the hidden bead, because the hidden bead will eventually cause some interference to people's vision. More security or more security. Her whole person has been in a defensive state. Looking at the man sitting on the chair, her heart is still uneasy and do not know the identity of people living in a room, but the door is in danger. There is no kind of situation than Yunwoo, now more embarrassed. But whoever thought that since Yunwoo came into this room, the man didn't look her in the eye. First he sat on the chair, then he ate the food he picked up from outside, and then he lay on the ground next to him with his legs up and his eyes closed. "Hello, can you say a word?" Yunwoo asked tentatively again. This man is really strange. His voice reverberates in the empty room. However, the man still ignored him. Yunwoo felt that he was making trouble of himself, and he didn't take care of him anymore because he didn't drive him away. He wandered around the abandoned mansion, walked 2 rooms, and finally found a relatively safe place. "I went in with my 2 children and found a place to sit down everywhere. I reluctantly nursed the children and took care of them to sleep." Seeing that the 2 children had gone to sleep safely, Yunwoo was relieved at last. Turning around, she saw that the man seemed to be asleep, lying on his side and motionless, so she closed her eyes. Sit with your knees crossed, look inside your body, and begin to practice and regulate your breath. The voice of the search team outside the door still came and went, but I don't know why the people of the search team didn't enter the house, which made Yunwoo feel quite relieved. Finally, after the search team had been making a lot of noise outside for a long time, everyone had to concentrate outside the alley. "No, boss. Boss, I don't have one either." There was a pause outside the door, and then the whole search team had left. Cloud Dance vomited breath. Feel his heart almost jumped out. He looked at the 2 sleeping children on the ground. The corners of his mouth showed a maternal smile. "Well, you should go." Suddenly, there's been a silent man said a word. Just these 5 words. Cloud Dance can't help but squint. Yunwoo's murderous spirit, but the man didn't seem to feel it at all. He stood up, rubbed his dirty hair, and turned to one of the rooms. Seeing the figure of the man disappearing in the house, you breathed in the clouds. How could she go? She won't leave here when she doesn't find a new house. Although I don't know the origin of this man. Yunwoo saw that the man just said a word, but he didn't mean to do anything more. So he thought for a while, and finally walked over to him and said, "I don't have a place to go now. Can I stay with you for a few days?" The man didn't seem to hear the words of Yunwoo at all. He didn't mean to go to bed, but now that Yunwoo finished, he found a place to lie down and turned his back to Yunwoo, as if to sleep. Seeing him like this, Yunwoo knew that he didn't want to take care of himself. However, thinking of his 2 children and the present situation, Yunwoo kept silent for a while and said again, "When I find another place, I will never forget the kindness of the chivalrous today." Yunwoo stood by the door and waited for a long time, but still didn't see the man's intention to open his mouth. He couldn't help frowning and didn't ask any more questions. He just left a light nagging. Then he turned around and went out with his 2 children in his arms and began to look for a room to live in. When Yunwoo left the door, the man turned his back to her closed eyes and finally opened them. A pair of deep black eyes flickered with inexplicable meaning. Then he changed his sleeping posture and murmured, "Everyone has his life," which made him fall asleep completely. And now the other side. Who? A fierce wind blows the curtains around Long Qingxie and raises his hair. There were 2 maids standing by the big bed, standing quietly by the bed. Breathing quietly, the sunlight outside the window projects into the room, and the whole project is on the body of Long Qingxie. Everything here is full of dark energy. Long Qingxie constantly absorbs energy, and the breath in the body gradually becomes strong. Finally, Long Qingxie opened his eyes and suddenly sent out a burst of intense dark energy. "Are you awake, my lord?" The maid beside suddenly exclaimed and turned to look at the dragon. "Well," Long Qingxie whispered. His eyes were full of confusion. He didn't seem to know where he was. Generally, he was just a habitual response to the maid's words. "Great. I'm going to tell the elders." The maid looked so surprised as she turned and ran out. It was only after the maid had left for a long time that the confusion in Long Qingxie's eyes gradually disappeared. "My lord?" Long Qingxie narrowed his eyes and gave a sneer. "These people are polite to themselves, and they even call themselves adults. If not, I would have been confused by them." Long Qingxie turned to look out of the window. The sun was burning outside. However, Long Qingxie clearly felt that the dark energy had not decreased. This place was not as simple as he thought. Not long after that, the maid who ran out just now came back with a group of people behind her. Long Qingxie sat on the bed, closed his eyes, and ignored. It seems that he is still very weak, but in fact it is because he is too lazy to deal with these people. When did he wake up? A man's voice came, obviously asking the people around him. "Elder Hui, in less than a cup of tea, I want to inform you as soon as you woke up." It was the voice of the maid just now, and the tone was full of respect. "That's good," the elder said, but he was in a hurry. The party immediately entered the room. "Shadash!" The elder made a silent gesture, and the people behind him immediately stopped. Looking at the dragon on the bed, the elder was pleasantly surprised and quickly went forward. "Are you awake now, my lord? I've seen you concentrate on your cultivation these days, so I didn't come to disturb you. Our patriarch is very concerned about your situation and says that if you wake up, you must let me invite you to come over at the first time." Long Qingxie raised his eyes slightly. The corner of his eyes was slightly lazy, and he was still so evil. He immediately made the elder smile awkwardly, scratched his head, and said respectfully, "Well, you might as well clean up and then follow me to see our lord." "Lord," Dragon Qing evil mouth asks away. There is light confusion in eyes, seem to want to suppress intentionally, but inadvertently leak out general. As soon as the elder saw him like this, he had no doubt at all. So he quickly said, "Yes, sir. Have you forgotten?" Long Qingxie squinted. "Why don't I know what patriarch?" The elder laughed. "You are really joking." Long Qingxie hooked the corner of his mouth and said with a sneer, "What character is your patriarch?" This word's Dragon Qing evil whole body's prestige release instantly, although the strength is not very strong, but it has a kind of superior pressure. He doesn't look like a man with amnesia at all. The elder's heart clattered and thought, is it difficult that he has not lost his memory? Or does this look like a person in a strange environment? "Well, I don't know if you think of anything now." The elder asked carefully and tentatively. "What do you say?" Long Qingxie asked, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth, which made people confused. The elder felt more uneasy. How could the dragon be different from what he expected? The elder only felt that he had a look on his body. He always looked at himself as if he wanted to see something from himself. After a long time, the elder even felt that he knew what he had done to him. After thinking for a long time, the elder only felt that the sweat on his forehead was going to seep out. Finally, he hardened his head and raised his head to look at the dragon. At the moment of looking at each other, the elder suddenly saw a trace of confusion in Long Qingxia's eyes and a look at the surrounding environment and the people he brought. Just for a moment, he was suppressed by the dragon's evil, and his eyes seemed to have never appeared before. Elder Alung, immediately in the heart a joy. Originally, he is pretending because of the fear that people around him have a threat, so deliberately pretend not to lose memory. In this way, the elder was not nervous. Instead, he was smiling at the dragon and said, "My lord, it seems that you really don't remember." Elder, satisfied with a smile, turned to the side of the humanitarian. "You quickly to clean up for adults to see the Lord." Several maidservants nodded quickly and went forward. "Sir, we are here to serve you," said the ladies respectfully. Long Qingxia's eyes swept back and forth on all the people, and finally closed his eyes. With a faint it was a default. Half an hour later, several maids finally came out of the house with dragons, evil spirits. They followed the elder and went to the place where the patriarch was. Long Qingxia then gradually saw the appearance of this sect clearly. The whole sect was wrapped by dark energy. These dark energy was quite pure, like mist around. Many disciples of the sect were sitting in the square practicing, with their eyes closed, and the black energy was boiling like water. And he also found that most of the people here are unfathomable. Are the people here so strong? Long Qingxia frowned and thought in his heart, he is already the strength of Wuling, and no one can surpass him in the human world. But here, Wuling is so powerful that he can't see through the strength of many people. Long Qingxia was shocked in his heart, but he didn't make a sound on his face. He really looked like an adult. He was led all the way to the main hall. The towering mountains are full of lush trees, and the stairs spiral up all the way, which is majestic and sacred. "My lord, I know you may have a lot of questions, but it's okay. You should know that you are our adult, and we will take care of you. When you see the patriarch later, ask him if you have any questions." The elder said respectfully. From pretending to lose his memory, the elder's attitude towards him suddenly became very respectful. Long Qingxia couldn't help thinking, is it because of some extraordinary plan that these people arrested themselves? In front of him, a man came down the stairs and said something in the elder's ear. As soon as the elder's eyes brightened, he hurried to Long Qingxia's side and said respectfully, "Your lord, the Lord is waiting. Please speed up." Soon, the party had come to the main hall above the steps. In the main hall stood a group of sect disciples, all dressed in white. However, the white clothes were totally different from the black smell they sent out. Long Qingxia pursed his mouth, bowed his head, and did not speak. He just followed the elder all the way into the main hall. But unexpectedly, the patriarch was not in the main hall, and the elder still guided him all the way through the main hall and all the way to the back of the main hall. But I found that behind the main hall, there was a huge platform. On the platform, a handsome young man, dressed like snow in white, sat there on a simple wooden table on which the water in the teacup was steaming. "Sit down, please." The patriarch turned to see the dragon and said with a smile, "Things are busy in the sect, so I can't see you often. But I always pay attention to your situation. After such a long time, you finally wake up. What about? How are you feeling?" Long Qing's evil heart. "How about my body? Are you responsible for it? It's funny to look like that." But on the face, it was quiet. Just Light said 2 words, "Okay." The patriarch said with a faint smile, "Don't hide in front of me. I know you have lost your memory. Just ask me what you want to ask." As soon as the voice fell, the dragon's evil body suddenly burst out a strong, dark breath. Just like an agile leopard, it may attack at any time. "My lord!" Below, a crowd of elders exclaimed, as if they were afraid that the dragon would collide with the patriarch. Clinker, but the lord raised his hand, said, "No harm." Then he turned to look at the dragon and said, "Don't worry, I won't harm you. We are all family. I just want to answer your questions." Long Qingxia and the patriarch looked at each other, and they did not give in to each other. After a long time, Long Qingxie seemed to confirm that he had no threat to himself. Then he put away his momentum and asked coldly, "Where is this place?" "Oh, don't you even remember your own home?" With a smile, the patriarch took a cup of tea and turned to the other side of the platform. This platform is built in the air. Under the platform is the abyss, and in front of it is a heavy mountain, surrounded by clouds, floating among the mountains. "Your own home?" Long Qingxie pretends to be puzzled and asks. His sight sweeps around. Finally, he looks at the patriarch with a puzzled face. "I don't think so." The patriarch shook his head helplessly. Sue said with a smile, Well, if you can't remember, you can't. You were exiled until you lost your memory. Not long ago, we accidentally rescued someone who was seriously injured, so we quickly brought you back for treatment." "Seriously injured?" "That's right," the patriarch said. "You are seriously injured. We have used many methods, but we still can't keep your memory. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, you've gone home, and you can catch up with the sections." Long Qingxie's brow was wrinkled, and he had no impression of what the Lord said. "What do you want me to do?" Long Qingxie said. "Yes." The patriarch said, "Originally you are a member of the sect. It's natural for you to do something. But after all, you have been exiled for a long time. I'm afraid you've been used to things outside. There are some problems with the sect. We need everyone to help the sect, but it's purely voluntary. If you want to come back, you will restore all your previous identities. If you don't want to, it doesn't matter. We can put you down now." "This is really a good choice, but I don't know where I am at this time. If I leave here now and can't find the cloud dance, this place is full of powerful opponents. If I don't pay attention, I may lose my life. Come on, have tea." The patriarch said that he would pour some cool tea out of the tea bowl, replace it with a new one, and push it to the front of Long Qingxie. Long Qingxie could not help but frown and look at the tea. He pondered for a moment and poured it down. Sure enough, Long Qingxie sneered in his heart. Although he knew what was added to the tea, he wanted to see what these people were up to. In front of the scene are blurred with the appearance of the patriarch, and finally, a dark. The patriarch looked at Long Qingxie lying on the table, bowed his head, and said with a smile, "Come on, lift him to the underground array." The two men came forward, carried the dragon, and left the platform. The elder quickly came forward. "Lord, how is this man?" The patriarch nodded with satisfaction, and a faint smile rose from the corner of his mouth. "Yes, I think it's time for us to start our plan. The white light shows that the Son of Light has come into the world. It's too late to start again." The patriarch narrowed his eyes and showed a smile. The dragon, who was carried into the underground array, was placed in the middle of the array, and several people quietly withdrew. In the array, a gurgle of black energy, like a spring, rushes into the dragon's body. The whole body makes a clattering sound, but the dragon seems to have no feeling. The energy is more and more rich, and all of them are poured into the dragon's evil body. Long Qingxie's body suddenly seemed to be caught and began to twist strangely. At last, he began to frown, and the sound of clicking became more intense. There was a sharp groan in his mouth. Then, blood began to come out of his mouth and nose, and he kept twitching, with blood flowing from the corners of his eyes and ears. The black chi all over his body wrapped him tightly. His muscles and veins almost all broke, and the black energy began to reshape him constantly, making his body take on a new look. In this way, day after day, the patriarch and the elder came to see Long Qingxie lying on the ground covered with blood. They were all exclaiming and wondering if this man was going to die. But Long Qingxie didn't stop breathing and didn't wake up. These people had to leave disappointed. In the main hall, "Lord, do you think this man can really be used by us?" the elder asked, full of worries. "But I clearly feel that this person can't survive the pulp washing this time. In case he becomes a useless person in the end, we've all worked in vain." The patriarch sighed, with a gentle and helpless smile on his face. "If this pulp washing is successful, then he will become our weapon. If it fails, there will be only one way to die. Just wait patiently. You are too impatient." The elder sighed and stopped talking. I don't know how long it took, but suddenly there was a boom under the ground. Long Qingxie suddenly opened his eyes, and his energy suddenly shattered the stones around him. He sat up and looked down at his body, surprised. What did the man drink for himself? Why suddenly his body is so strong? Suddenly heard someone's footsteps running down from the top, with a voice. The Lord said he woke up this time should be completely for our use. You have to be careful not to be hurt by him. People who have just been washed can't control their energy. Long Qingxie took a deep breath, sat in the middle of the array, and closed his eyes. He's sitting up. A person exclaimed, walked forward, but couldn't help but let out another exclamation. Dragon Qingxie slowly opened his eyes, and those eyes were full of confusion and indifference. The golden eyes were like a pool of golden lake, deep and bottomless. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.